vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. As a volunteer, you deliver a hot, nutritious meal and a friendly hello to someone just like your mother, grandfather, or next door neighbor. These seniors are inspiring people with incredible stories to share, and they love to see you. The smiles you get back are priceless. Delivering with Meals on Wheels is easy, and you don't have to drive like me for it to be quick. You can volunteer your lunch break once a week or just once a month. With 1 in 6 seniors facing hunger and many more living in isolation, your lunch break can make a real difference. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Okay, Simon, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. And what do people normally wear?
Clothes.
Exactly. So now Mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Clothes keep us warm, they look good, and if we go out without them, the neighbors will talk. So it's important to know how to get dressed. Here's how it's done. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole or you have to start all over. If you're wearing a tie, it goes over, round, round, through, and pull tight. Tuck your shirt into your pants and zip up your fly. Socks going first, then shoes right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops. The rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears.
I love bunnies.
Good to know. Now remember, spots don't go with stripes, socks don't go with sandals, and if you've tucked in your shirt, wear a belt. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
So you see, son, good manners are very, very important. Someday, many years from now, when you're a grown-up, you'll be a man. And when you are, you should be a gentleman. Do you want me to go through it one more time?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Exactly. Always say please, thank you, you're welcome, and excuse me. Sit up straight, hold doors open for ladies. If a door's shut, then knock first. Don't burp, don't swear, don't speak with your mouth full, don't reach across people's plates, keep your elbows off the table.
What table?
And don't interrupt. While we're at it, don't stare, don't use foul language, don't call people names, but do remember people's names. Always share your toys, play nice, and cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze. On the bus, give up your seat to anyone who has trouble standing. Bottom line, treat others the way you'd like to be treated. Got it?
Got it.
And stop picking your nose.
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
Hey, there he is. How's it going? I'm having a stroke. Are you going to shake my hand or what? I'm having a stroke. Wow, you're not even moving your arm. I'm having a stroke. Are you okay? I'm having a stroke. Your face looks weird too. I'm having a stroke. Are you having a seizure or something? I'm having a stroke.
When someone is having a stroke, they may not be able to say it with words, but their body language will tell you loud and clear.
I'm having a stroke.
You just need to know the sudden signs. Look for FAST, F-A-S-T. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. Or S, speech difficulty. Then T, time. Time to call 911 immediately, because the sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in their recovery. Know the sudden signs. Face, arm, speech, time. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
Or if that resume was from someone who
worked 12-hour shifts at the recycling company with my dad, who's 72. That taught me a work ethic that I carry with me every day.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone.
Growing up where I did, a lot of things could have gotten in the way of my goals, but I learned to push through, and that's what I bring to work every day.
So maybe it's time we look beyond the resume and look to Grads of Life. Discover new ways to develop great talent that are so much more than what's on paper at gradsoflife.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs. And it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Dear John, I was hoping it wouldn't come to this, but you've left me no choice. I'm leaving. Uncontrolled high blood pressure is really serious, and lately you seem to really not care. I've been there for you since day one, and I know you think I'm gonna keep ticking, but no, my friend, I can quit whenever I want. Why can't we get back to the good times, when we were more active and ate more healthy foods, and you checked on me every once in a while? Is that too much to ask? I don't want to leave, but unless you stop ignoring me, what else am I supposed to do? Remember, when I quit, you quit. Sincerely, your heart.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you. Doing the minimum to control your high blood pressure isn't doing enough. High blood pressure can lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get your blood pressure to a healthy range before it's too late. Find out how at heart.org/blood pressure. Check, change, control. A message from the American Heart Association, the American Stroke Association, and the Ad Council.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Jason Derulo. I love that music connects to people all over the country. But unfortunately, so does something else. Childhood hunger. 15 million kids struggle with hunger right here in America. And yet, every year, billions of pounds of surplus food in the U.S. go to waste instead of going to the children in need. Feeding America is working to change this. The Feeding America nationwide network of food banks rescues this surplus of food to help provide meals to families in virtually every community in the United States, including yours. But they just can't do this alone. Join me in the fight against hunger in America. For more information on what you can do to get involved, visit feedingamerica.org. That's feedingamerica.org. Together we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America. A message from Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Hey, everyone. Let's all stop what we're doing right now and take a moment. That felt good, huh? Just like that, we had a nice special sort of moment together. Of course, they don't all need to be quiet moments to be special. They could be loud moments, goofy moments, sporty moments, dorky moments. Moments where we talk or walk or just hang out. It doesn't really matter. They all count. Because every time dads like us take a moment like that to spend with our kids, well, it's pretty momentous. Sounds like somebody agrees. So let's take a moment to make a moment. Today, call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
What are you talking about?
No, it's not him. There's only one more. There is only one more. That's it. One more. Get a rest! No!
They saw your team put up zero effort.
Wake up!
Remember in the old days, they used to have oxygen for them. Where's the oxygen?
Play like absolute just garbage.
This is the Sports Loudmouths.
Yay!
Man. Can you keep it down? I'm trying to introduce here. With Errol Marks and Speedy Petey.
You're not even a has-been. You're a never was. You're a never was. You're a never was.
August 2nd, 2023. You are listening to the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host. It is Speedy Petey. 631-672-3108 is the number to call. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week. Yes, Speedy, as the sports loudmouth for the summertime airs Wednesdays and Thursdays at 9 p.m. Tune in to all our shows throughout the week by going to the menu bar and checking out all the times and collection of shows by going to www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Remember, you can call the show at 631-672-3108. Speeder, what's up, man?
Well, I'm just waiting to pass my physical because I've learned my Mets fanship has been traded to the Baltimore Orioles for a new walking cane for Buck Showalter to get to the mound.
Sure not a wheelchair?
Well, it might be a wheelchair at this rate. Maybe Buck will need
will
it.
Buck somewhere else.
Well, maybe it could be a ceremonial move for the Orioles. They could go honor him in his last managerial series as a Met.
Well, buckle me succotash. What does that sound like?
Some kind of language you just made up.
Well, it's part of Buck's language.
Well, maybe it is. Maybe that's how he talks to his pitchers and why they haven't done well this year.
Well, Buck is going to duck as the end of the season will be coming around a lot faster than usual for the New York Mets, as they decided to make a ton of moves at the trade deadline and the Yankees decide to sit still. I don't understand it, but again, we'll get into it a little bit later. But I want to give a shout out to the event I went to, a golf tournament over there in Huntington, New York, baby, the Ohika Castle. And I met a lot of people. Rhonda, thank you for helping me out, interview some of the different athletes and different spokesmen and CEOs that were there, hanging out, models. I mean, it was crazy. Ex-wrestlers. CC Sabathia was there. Plaxico Boras. And no, ladies and gentlemen, he did not bring a gun. But he brought his golf clubs. I'm just kidding. Blaz.
He was going to bring his gun, but John Morant stole it.
In his back pocket.
I claimed it was fake.
Could you imagine John Morant playing golf and using his gun to shoot the ball in the hole?
That would be quite tactical, actually.
Man. It would. It would be awesome. As a matter of fact, I've never seen anything like it.
Well, yeah, probably because they don't have
bulletproof
balls.
balls.
They probably don't have any golf balls that are able to withstand a bullet.
No, well, you might have bulletproof balls. How about that?
Well, when that invention comes out, then John Morant could definitely hit the golf links.
Well, he has bulletproof balls because he seems to carry around guns wherever he goes. And he seems to never get away with it, or he has gotten away with it. So, yeah, John Morant, we love him. But I'd like to thank everybody from the event, Ohika Castle. It was really fantastic. It was a great opportunity to be introduced to some of the different people, different players and CEOs that were there. It really was exciting. And I got a chance to meet some interesting people that are probably listening to the show right now, Speedy. What do you think about that? I mean, they didn't get a chance to meet you, but you shaved that beard, man. There's no bugs living in your beard anymore.
There are no bugs living in my beard for now.
When are you going to shave that hair of yours, that muff? I mean, seriously.
I'm not going to shave it completely.
Why not? I think it would be. I think it would look good. How about dyeing it blonde?
Oh God.
Why wouldn't you dye it blonde?
I'm not dyeing my hair.
Why? I think you would look good.
I'm not dyeing my hair.
It would make you look good.
I don't care.
I mean,
I'm not dyeing my hair.
All right, if you're not going to dye, you got to dye your dog's hair.
I'd much rather do that.
Well, you let Jake do other things to you, so you might as well dye his hair. Teach him a lesson.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he has snuck into your room and has done a little bit of things to you, as we've spoken about on live radio, as you know.
So I'll bring back the mustache maybe in November for Movember.
The stash. We don't call it mustache. We call it a stash, ladies and gentlemen.
I might bring it back, though, Snug, just for you.
At 9:30, we'll be talking to Sports Illustrated Fan Nation Mets beat reporter Pat Ragazzo. He will be joining us for the first time on the show. Very excited to have him on. I am sure he has his own thoughts what's going on with the New York Mets. I mean, Billy Eppler still has a job. Buck Showalter still has a job. And, Uncle Stevie still has a brain, I think. I hope so. If you're a Met fan, you better hope. Oh, man. A little bit later in the show at 11 o'clock, we will be talking to ex-Colt Broncos defensive lineman. Finally, we'll have him back on the show, Darrell Reid. Fantastic personality, really is, and really a good man, off and on the field. He has been a fantastic personality for every single organization he's working with now that his career is over. Terrell, before I get into anything besides what we
our guests and all the crazy stuff that's happened, I want to give a shout out to my mother, who's been dealing with a lot of stuff. And she is trying to get through this foot situation. She has an infection in her foot. It's gone to a bone, and she's been dealing with so much stuff. So I want to give a shout out to her. She's a big fighter. She's working, and well, she's not working literally, but she's trying to get back on her feet. It's been very, very hard for her. And I feel bad for her because she's stuck in a house and she can't walk. So a shout out to my mom, and hopefully she feels better. Terence Crawford defeats Errol Spence with a 9th round TKO. Yes, Jeff, I know what you're going to say. As I said, bet the boat. We will get into that a little bit later in the show, as I was wrong. I'm not going to be always right, Jeff. But, Jeff, you like to attack me. I didn't make you eat dog poop. Did I ever? You lost the bet. Did I force you to go outside and eat your dog's doo-doo? Did I do that? You didn't want to do it on social media. You didn't want to do it on anything. You made a bet. I didn't even go through with it. I saved your life. I saved your life. And you decide to attack me all over social media. Thank you, Jeff. The Mets trade 6 players at the trade deadline, including Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer. That's going to be fun to get into. Scherzer also said Billy Eppler told him the plan was for the Mets to contend in 2025, not next year. Well, then why would you sign him? That doesn't make sense. I mean, that doesn't make sense. Who were the biggest winners and losers of the MLB trade deadline? Aaron Rodgers and Nathaniel Hackett fire back at good old Sean Man Payton, as he doesn't shut up and as he apologized. But you know what? Aaron Rodgers don't care. Nathaniel Hackett doesn't care. They just want to attack back, as we are going to get a chance to see Hard Knocks this week on Sunday. I'm interested to see what's going on. Aaron Rodgers says it's going to be really, really good. And the guys from Hard Knocks are not chasing around, the team with the cameras. And he thinks that it's going to bring out their personalities much better, and people are going to get to know who they are on and off the field. Jonathan Taylor requests a trade from the Colts, and also mentioned that the reports of him having a back injury were false. So for all the fans and everybody that's a Colt fan out there that thought that Jonathan Taylor has a back injury, that's false information. Bracket Wars matchup tonight is the number 16 seed Kevin Mawai versus the number 1 seed Mariano Rivera, and the number 13 seed Rod Jobert versus the number 4 seed Tom Seaver. Yes, we are going through I guess you can call this, matching wars, bracket wars of the top New York players of this era. So if you're a New York fan, tune in as we do that in the final segment of the show. So why don't we get into it? Before we get into it, Speedy, I just want to know something, and I think the fans need to know. Have you swum or swam this year, but being that it's been a hot summer?
Have I swum this year?
Swam. You know what I meant.
I have been. 2 weeks ago, we were my uncle and his kids came up. We were at the beach.
Any shark bites?
No.
Did you get bitten by a shark?
I did not.
You sure?
I'm sure. I would have known if I gotten bitten by a shark.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you didn't know that your dog had his nose in your ass.
Okay,
Am I
that's
right?
completely different.
But you didn't know that.
Okay, that's completely different.
But how is it different? If a dog has its
one
nose
is a much more violent act that you would feel. The other one that you would
feel good.
No,
it feels good, right?
No, it didn't.
Well, you didn't think that it felt good?
No.
Well, I don't know. I don't know how you are.
I said I was blindsided.
Well, you were definitely blindsided. That's for sure. Hopefully, the tongue was a little bit on the side of the hole. Am I right?
I have no idea, and I'm not evaluating further. Thank you, John, for making a comment that's not related to that. LOL, Mets paying over $130 million to players not on the team. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Max Scherzer had some comments after being traded from the Mets to the Rangers, saying that he waived his no-trade clause because the Mets didn't have plans to reload for next season. Scherzer also mentioned that Billy Eppler his plan was focusing on being a World Series contender in 2025 and 2026. And next season would be a transition year. Scherzer contract would have expired after next season, meaning he wasn't even a part of the plans of the championship window for that season. Both Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander had contracts over $40 million per year next season. The Mets had $365 million payroll this season and over $70 million than the next highest team. The Mets are currently 50-56 and 7 games back from the last playoff spot in the National League. Just so everybody knows, just imagine this. There's 6 games under 500, and they're only 7 games out of a playoff spot. I mean, just look at those numbers right there. So you're telling me the team that's ahead of them is barely over 500, and they're in a wild card spot. Why am I saying this, ladies and gentlemen? It's very simple. Rob Manfred is a complete moron. Adding that final wild card spot, what was it, 2 years ago?
Last year. Your Philadelphia Phillies made a run.
That wasn't my Philadelphia.
You picked them from the start.
I did, but
you hopped on that bandwagon.
I didn't hop on the bandwagon. I created the bandwagon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I did. Nobody else picked them.
That's true.
Nobody else. I had them going to the World Series, and I had them winning, actually. But Max Scherzer is completely right about this. If you're a Met fan, and I know Met fans are probably saying, look what we got, and we'll get into that. We got this guy. We got that guy. We got a top prospect. Yeah, good for you. Where the Mets are right now, everybody expected them to be competing for a playoff spot. With all the money that was invested, the billions and billions of dollars. Yes, I say billions because in the last 2 years of Uncle Stevie's reign, he has spent over $1.3 billion on players that are not producing. There are players right now on this team, in this organization, Pete Alonso being one of them, that is craving a contract, that should be getting a contract. But you know what? You know what we're going to do? We're going to bring in Max Scherzer, yes, as he has done absolutely nothing for the organization except lose. Yes, Jeff, lose. Stop comparing his numbers to the top 40 pitchers in baseball when he was the highest paid pitcher in baseball. Justin Verlander, who they spent $43.5 million this offseason, bringing a guy like that to this organization because he's a winner, a born winner, a Cy Young champion. And this guy couldn't get over the hump if you paid him another 10 or 15 million. And what do? They trade him back to the Houston Astros. Yeah, we got this garbage. We'll send it back to you. Thank you. I mean, if you look at the Mets and the position they try to put themselves in going into the offseason this year and really trying, and I mean trying to hit home runs. They were right about Jacob deGrom. They were right. His elbow wasn't going to hold up. They believed probably that in the next year or two, he was going to have an injury and he would be out for at least a year or two. Maybe the Mets knew something we didn't. Their trainers obviously don't know much of anything. I mean, this is an embarrassing move for the Mets to make at the trade deadline. Billy Eppler, who a lot of Met fans just absolutely adore. Oh my God, he was the one that dragged Shohei Ohtani to the Angels. Oh my God, he's magnificent. He's going to draw Shohei Ohtani to the Mets this offseason. Do you really believe that Shohei Ohtani wants to go to a losing organization that just traded away 2 pitchers that they overpaid for that were over 40 years old? Honestly, if you're a Met fan, I'm not throwing the Mets under the bus. Do you really believe the best player right now in baseball is going to say, you know what? I'm going to the Mets. That's where I want to go. I want to play with Francisco Lindor. I want to play with Pete Alonso. And I can't even name their starting pitchers right now. Who's their number 1 guy right now? Peterson? I mean, seriously. It's an embarrassment. And if you're a Met fan, I understand. Again, I'm trying to make you guys feel better because, hey, you know what? You added some good young prospects. So There's nothing really to worry about. You can rebuild through that. The Mets were very active as sellers at the trade deadline as they dealt 6 players. The Mets traded 2 relievers, Dominic Leone, he went to the Angels, and David Robertson, that went to the Marlins. The Mets traded 2 outfielders as Mark Canha went back to the Brewers. I think he played for the Brewers before.
No, he was with Oakland.
Oh, I'm sorry. He never played for the Brewers. And Tommy Pham, who went to the Diamondbacks. It seems like Tommy Pham has played for every single team in the baseball. The Mets also traded, like we were saying, Justin Verlander back to the Astros for outfielder prospect Drew Gilbert and Ryan Clifford. Gilbert is the Astros' #1 prospect, and Clifford is the #4 ranked prospect right now in the Astros, or was in the Astros organization. Just so everybody knows this, all the great players the Astros had, top-ranking players, they're up. They're part of this roster. The 2 star pitchers that they have, they're up. Their power hitter, up, who was a big player and a big factor in the World Series last year. The Mets traded Max Scherzer to the Rangers for shortstop prospect. Hold on, here we go. Luis Angel Acuna. Am I right?
You got it the second time.
There you go. Mr. Acuna. And you know who that is? That's Ronald Acuna's brother. He's ranked number 44 in baseball. And the Mets traded for a total of 4 shortstops prospects in these trades. So let's go through this here. 4 shortstop prospects. So obviously, they don't believe Francisco Lindor is the future shortstop of this organization. They signed him to an 11-year contract. He's now, 2 years in? 3 years in?
3 years in, yep.
That means he's got 8 years left in that contract. He is 29, going to be 30, if I'm not mistaken. He is not going to be a Met till the age of 38. I think the Mets made it loud and clear making this trade. I was very surprised that no team was interested in Francisco Lindor, and I'm very surprised that the Mets weren't interested in trading Francisco Lindor. I think it's been an absolute joke, this organization. Sterling Marte, they overpaid for him about 1.5 years ago. He stinks. He has done nothing. Every single piece that they added to this team, this organization, is practically gone already. They brought him in. Within 2 years, they're gone.
Don't forget Eduardo Escobar 2 months ago.
That's right. I mean, the only player they kept in the last 2 or 3 years with all the money they've thrown around is Francisco Lindor.
And Marte, because they couldn't trade him because he got hurt for the 3rd time already this
year.
He'll
be gone by the end of the season.
Yeah, I'm sure about that.
I mean, the only reason why he wasn't traded because of his injury.
Right.
I mean, the Mets practically gave up on the season, and they're probably going to give up on next season because they're going to be rebuilding again. And Uncle Stevie, who told everybody that it was going to take no longer than 4 years, 5 years to win a World Series, it looks like he's going into year 4 next year? Mm-hmm. What are the chances the Mets are going to be able to put a team together that's going to be able to compete in the National League next year, and could be able to compete in 2025 when that's the season they're expected to win?
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult because they're still very far behind in the pitching department in baseball, not only when it comes to their major league roster, but also their farm system that has practically nothing when it comes to pitching. They have a AA pitcher that I think is 2nd or 3rd in ERA in AA, but that's really it. That's really all you're banking on right now on a rotation that already traded away 2 guys. They've watched David Peterson and Tyler McGill both fail in the rotation this year as it is. You have a 33-year-old Jose Quintana that just came back 2 weeks ago. He's pitched fine, but nothing special. And that's what you're going to be banking on. You better hope that they make this money work, because I do think think value-wise, there's good and bad. The trades were good value. Max Scherzer getting a top 50 prospect, I would have never expected for that kind of thing. Because I look at comparing it saying that when the Diamondbacks traded Zach Greinke to the Astros, Greinke was having a better year than what Scherzer had this year, and they didn't even get a top 50 prospect. So the fact that the Mets did in that regard was miraculous. I never would have expected the Astros to give him 2 outfield prospects. You're right. They're not the highest grade prospects. They're B-level prospects and a C-level prospect, the 4th guy. But still, it's better than what I would have expected for a guy making $40 million a year and pitching like a 3rd starter. That being said, they didn't get any pitching prospects either, though. That's the downside of this trade.
No, the Yankees got 2 pitching prospects or whatever they are. I mean, I don't think Spencer Howard is much of a player, but hey.
I thought he was 2 years ago. He hasn't panned out.
Yeah, I mean, his ERA is over 7 right now. I mean, if you're a Yankee fan, yes, we got Spencer Howard. We're going to win the World Series. I have a lot to say about the Yankees, too. Trust me, I have a lot to say about them. Go ahead, Speedy.
I was also going to keep saying, though, the comments with Billy Eppler does not help either, because the Mets are also getting that kind of reputation. If you do want to pursue all these big stars, I know you mentioned last week on the Weekend Crunch, you think the Mets have a good shot at getting Juan Soto when he becomes available.
I think so, yeah.
But again, you look at what happened with Jacob deGrom, the sour ending that he had the last 2 years with the Mets, and now you look at Max Scherzer, these comments he's making about Billy Eppler, like next year's a transition year, like you're not even going to try. It just shows effortless, and I don't think any big name free agent is going to want to abide by that. Even these pitchers that might become free agents that you can get for $25-30 million a year that are going to be free agents, are they going to be enticed by the Mets? They're going to have to overpay a little more if you want to get them too.
Let me tell you something. I mean, if you're a weightlifter, what do you like to do? You like to shave your hair off your body, right? You clean your hair off because it shows definition. I don't think the Yankees could do anything right now that can show any definition to what this team is. Because honestly, I don't think they know what this team is. I think they're lost. I know a lot of people want to throw Brian Cashman down the drain. Oh my God, it's Brian Cashman's fault that you got Rizzo can't hit. You have LeMahieu that can't hit. You have, I'm sorry, Aaron Judge with his injury. It's all Brian Cashman's fault. He's the one. And he's the reason why they couldn't sell anything and buy anything at the trade deadline.
You should have traded for Tommy Pham.
Before we get into the Yankees and the absolute blunder that they had at the trade deadline, because I did think that they were going to make some kind of moves. Yeah. It was embarrassing, and Brian Cashman should be ashamed of himself. Yankees, Domingo Germán enters an inpatient treatment for alcohol abuse. New York Yankees right-hander Domingo Germán has voluntarily entered an inpatient treatment for alcohol abuse this Wednesday. Germán was placed on a restricted list while undergoing treatment, according to the Yankees. It is critical that Domingo completely focuses on addressing his health and well-being, the team said. We will respect his privacy as he begins this process. So what does this say about the Yankees right now? Domingo Germán, who's been a bright spot for the Yankees this year, pitching the perfect game a couple of weeks ago. Yes, as Jeff would say, he cheated with the rosin situation or whatever he calls it. Spider tack, spider ass, whatever you call it. Domingo Germán is probably done for the season. So if you're a Yankee fan and you expect the Yankees to have Domingo Germán in this rotation, if they have any chance about making the playoffs, that's not going to happen. Nestor Cortez will be back this weekend. Mm-hmm. Luis Severino, I think the Yankees are just either going to send him down or sit him out or move him into the bullpen because he's horrible right now as a starting pitcher in that rotation. But pitching isn't the problem for the Yankees right now. It's not. They can't hit. So why? I repeat to the Yankees and the Yankee fans that are out there supporting what the Yankees did at the trade deadline. Maybe some people are not. Why would the Yankees bring in 2 pitchers? That's my question. Why would the New York Yankees bring in 2 pitchers? By the way, and we just mentioned one of them, a guy that was a top prospect, was a first-round draft pick in Spencer Howard, a right-handed pitcher from the Texas Rangers. He's just gave up money for him. As we all know, that Texas Rangers probably just wanted to get rid of him. They didn't want him. So you know what? We'll give him to the Yankees. Maybe the Yankees will figure him out.
There's no room for him. No, he gets traded for Max Scherzer and also Jordan Montgomery.
Oh, look at that. Isn't that amazing?
New York pitcher reunion, everybody.
I mean, seriously. I can't sit here and sell that and say, hey, the Yankees did well. And then adding Middleton from the Chicago White Sox, another pitcher that has underachieved in Chicago. A guy that a lot of people, including the White Sox, thought he was going to be a starting top 2 pitcher in their rotation, has fallen out of love with the Chicago White Sox execs and GM. And that's why the Yankees got him for a guy named Juan Carrella, who I have no idea who he is. He's in their farm system, probably a AA player. I mean, you cannot sell this. You can't tell me as a Yankee fan, and I don't blame Brian Cashman for what the players are doing in the regular season. That's not his fault. Aaron Boone's going to take the brunt of this. But I blame Brian Cashman when you know you need offense, that you've been pulverized by teams in your division. Tampa, the Orioles, the Blue Jays, even the damn Red Sox has been busting a you-know-what when they play you. How could you not add any offense to this lineup? To me, I just think it's an absolute blunder. And last year, when we look at the trade deadline, there were so many big names, so many great names that were involved, including Juan Soto, who went all the way to the Padres from the Nationals. There was no big names. And I don't want to hear about Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer. They're 40 years old. They're old enough to be, they're old enough to live in a country home, okay? I mean, seriously. I mean, they're married to beautiful women, young women. But, I mean, these guys are a shell of themselves. They're not the same players they were. And Justin Verlander, who pitched well his last 2 starts, he's been horrible. Now he's going to go back to the Astros. The Astros are a pretty good roster, a good team, and his numbers are going to go back down. You know why? Because he's playing for a very good defensive team.
Right.
They hide his deficiencies as a pitcher.
Yep. Before we go to break and get our guest on, John says, watch these 2 pitchers have an ERA below 2.2 on their new teams, LOL. Snug says the garbage. The Astros got a Cy Young winner and a 1.75 ERA last year. Everyone knows Ohtani's going to stay on the West Coast. John says, I would like to see Mets versus Yankees series September 10th.
No, I don't want to see that. No.
Every year.
I don't ever want to see that again.
Ooh, interesting prediction for Soto. John says Soto will go to the Yankees or Red Sox.
I hope
next year.
I hope not.
True, you were right about that. Did you see the horrible trade with the Brewers? Got an active infielder. They got him and then sent him to AAA. LOL. Like what? They weren't the only team too. Cleveland did that too. They bought out Segura, so not ideal circumstances.
Man, baseball trade deadline, my unfavorite part of the year. I mean, right now is the worst time of year when it comes to sports. You have baseball and you have women's volleyball. Okay, that's what I've been watching. Baseball and volleyball for women. I have been watching a little bit of the World Cup. So
okay,
that's been fun. I mean, Team USA is still in it, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, they didn't play well their last game.
They're still in it.
They're still in it. They squeaked in as the 2nd seed, and now they got to play Sweden, who's very good too.
Sweden.
Yep.
When we come back, we will be talking to Sports Illustrated Fan Nation Mets beat writer Pat Ragazzo. When we come back here on the Sports Lab Mouse.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Of course my kid's in the right car seat. Well, I think he is.
Yeah, my kid's in a booster seat. He was ready to move up. He is ready, right?
Her car seat looks like the right size.
There are probably rules on when to move up to a booster seat, aren't there?
Rear facing, forward facing. I think I have it right.
Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Are your children in the right car seat for their age and size? Don't think you know. Know you know. Go to safercar.gov/the right seat.
I know my child's in the right car seat. or else I wouldn't get in the driver's seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is the Sports Loudmouths.
Six 631-672-3108 is the number to call. You are listening to the Sports Loudmouths. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host and producer, Speedy Petey. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including the Loudmouths, which airs every single summer. Yes, it's transition time as we have the summer times, Wednesdays and Thursdays at 9 p.m. Tune in to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network by going to www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Speedy, are you ready for this? Mm-hmm. You're a Met fan.
I am.
You love the Mets.
But remember, I was at the beginning of the show. I did mention I was traded to the Orioles for Buck's wheelchair.
And before we introduce our guest, I just want to let everybody know that if Speedy actually still made that deal, that if the Mets win the World Series, he would get a polar bear with a Mets hat on it on his chest. And it doesn't seem like it's going to happen.
No, it does not.
Oh, man. I feel bad.
Unless Kadai Senga pitches all 5 days, and that's pretty much it.
Well, we can make a bet. If the Mets stay under 500, you have to do something else. How's that?
I think they will finish under 500. I'm not trusting them.
Now we have our first guest and first time on our show. We are now talking to Sports Illustrated Fan Nation Mets beat writer Pat Ragazzo. Pat, what's up, man?
Nothing much. Thanks so much for having me on, guys.
Well, we're happy to have you on. I did, tremble a little bit on your name before we went into, the break. I mean, tremble. I fell on it. Okay.
It was a good recovery. Very good recovery. You got it on the second try.
Well, you know what? I feel loved, and it's the first time that you've been on our show, so I don't want you to hate me by the time we get off with you. But happy to have you on. I know you're not a very happy camper, or maybe you are. I don't know. So before we get into that, how are you doing? We haven't spoken to you. You're the first. This is the first time on a show. How are you and your family doing? I mean, 2 years ago it was the whole COVID thing. How you feeling?
I'm doing well, just enduring the grind of baseball season as you guys are too.
Yes.
But doing well, and the Mets have made a little bit of news in the last few days, if you might say so.
They made a lot of news and news that I just laugh about because two players that a lot of Met fans were so excited about. Max Scherzer, a couple of years ago, we had the Nationals reporter on the show saying, "You don't know what you're getting. This guy is a Cy Young champion. He won a World Series. He's going to be great for us." And, 2 years later, he's gone. He's playing for the Texas Rangers with Jacob deGrom. I mean, Jacob deGrom is sitting out, but hey, you know what? He's with Jake. And then they make a move this offseason because you know what? I want to make Max Scherzer happy. We're going to bring his buddy in, Justin Verlander, and we're going to pay him the same amount of money. Yes! And he decides to go to the Mets, and then he gets traded back to the Astros. So what were your thoughts to the additions of those two old men? And now what are your thoughts to the trades and the players that they landed this trade deadline?
Well, first of all, money does not equate to wins, as we've learned. Steve Cohen came in with his checkbook. He's got a lot of money. They spent endless amounts of it in the offseason and, essentially brought back a similar team to last season that won 101 games but ran out of gas in the end and, added to that roster as well. They lost Jacob deGrom, but they added Justin Verlander. They re-signed Edwin Diaz, re-signed Nimmo, brought in Kodai Senga, re-signed Adam Ottavino. They just, they tooled up and, it didn't work out this year. And, relying on two 40-year-old pitchers, as great as they are, future Hall of Famers, and Scherzer was really good last year until the end, obviously, and Verlander's coming off the Cy Young Award, but it was a lot to rely on. And, it totally floundered. And, now fast forward to the trade deadline. And, I didn't think that they were going to trade either guys, but they got offers that they felt they couldn't refuse. And, I like what they've kind of done to retool the farm system. Some of the guys were rookie ball players, specifically for Scherzer, I like what they got in Ronald Acuna's younger brother, who's in AA, having a very good year. He might be able to contribute, sooner rather than later in the next year or two. And, for Verlander, they got two very good outfield prospects. They got the Astros number 1 prospect and their number 4 prospect, who are both having very good years, one in AA, one in high A ball. So, the Mets went full on fire sale, and, they're going to be entering a little bit of a rebuild here, but I do like what they got to kind of replenish the farm system there.
So what do you think about Eppler's comments that he made? Do you think it's realistic that next year is just going to be a transition year, or do you think they're just bluffing and they're still going to target some other pitching because they really need a lot of pitching, especially young pitching, to bolster up that rotation?
They do. And, Eppler's comments are very telling. I mean, he said they're not going to have the same odds, World Series odds, that they did, going into 2022 and going into 2023. They're not going to spend like drunken sailors. But that being said, that doesn't mean they're not going to make moves. I mean, like you said, they have several holes in the starting rotation. They don't have an ace, unless you count Kodai Senga, who's having a very good year. But, they're going to have to make moves in the offseason to, kind of fill those holes. And even though they won't be spending like drunken sailors, I mean, this takes them out on Ohtani. I mean, there's a lot of rumors that Ohtani prefers to stay on the West Coast anyway. But yeah, the Mets, I don't even know if they're going to be in on Ohtani, based off the transition that they're about to enter. So, based off Eppler's comments, I mean, I expect them to sign some free agents and fill some of those holes, but they're not going to spend like crazy like they did this past year.
We are talking to Sports Illustrated Fan Nation Mets beat writer Pat Ragazzo. Now, Pat, Billy Eppler speaks very highly of the Yankees' Brian Cashman, as he comes from the Yankees organization. And obviously Brian Cashman didn't have a very good trade deadline either. And everybody wants to throw Brian Cashman a bone or just get rid of him. Now, if Brian Cashman ever gets fired from the New York Yankees, don't you think that the Mets would be in line to add him as a president or the head of player personnel if he becomes available for the New York Mets? I believe he would be the first person the Mets will be calling if he becomes available. Am I right or wrong?
I would say you're right, but if they bring in David Stearns, then they might not need to go after Cashman if Cashman never becomes available, which I don't know that he will. Even this year, if the Yankees wind up missing the playoffs, got tons of underperformance on that roster. They have stars in Judge and Garrett Cole, and they haven't built around them. And, they didn't do anything at the trade deadline when they desperately needed a bat or two. So I think that, if David Stearns doesn't come to the Mets and Cashman becomes available, I think the Mets would be interested.
You mentioned David Stearns. You look at young pitching that could be available either in trades or maybe in free agency down the road. And the Brewers have a lot of it too. And Corbin Burns didn't get the arbitration. Brandon Woodruff, they have a lot of guys like that. Could see those kinds of moves either for the Brewers or some of these other young pitchers that could be available maybe in arbitration or in free agency for the Mets?
Yeah, it's definitely possible. I mean, a guy like Snell, Flaherty's going to be available. Even this guy coming from Japan, I'm blanking on his name right now, but the Mets have had obviously recent luck with Japanese starting pitchers, and they're gonna have to make moves. Like I said, they don't have an ace in their rotation now after trading away Verlander and Scherzer. So I think that they are gonna have to make moves to get starting pitchers, and I think that they will.
Pat, and I know you like Senga, and I was one of the guys that actually said that Senga was going to have the best record and probably the best pitcher for the New York Mets this year. You could ask Speedy. I was one of very few people that thought Senga was going to have a good season. And one of the main reasons why is because he's coming from Japan. Nobody has seen him. None of these hitters have actually seen him. And usually the first year, those pitchers play very, very well. It's usually the second and third years is where either you're a good pitcher or you're not, or teams are going to figure out and you're going to be knocked out of the league pretty much in the next 5 or 6 years. So I understand a lot of Met fans are happy about Senga, and you should be, but let's see in the second year. What I'm interested to see with the Mets that going into the offseason is Pete Alonso, okay? Pete Alonso has been the face of their organization for the last 2 seasons. Jacob deGrom was a big part of that, but everybody knew that Jake didn't want to be there. I was one that said it last year before the season even started. I would be very surprised if Jake re-signs with the New York Mets. I don't believe he will. I think he's going to go to a place where he can buy a farm and raise his kids. And what did he do? He went to Texas and then he got hurt. I could say the same right here. When you look at the Mets and the situation that they're in, you can't name their number one pitcher. And you want to say Senga, but Senga, to me, we don't know if he's a number one or a number two or a number three in the future. Peterson, I mean, come on. The problem right now with the Mets and what is held is Pete Alonso's contract. They need to find and figure out the number and get this thing closed as soon as possible. Because if you go into, I think this is an arbitration year for Pete Alonso. Next year, he could say, you know what? You're not going to bet on me. I'm not betting on you. I'm going to free agency, and I'm going to go somewhere and a team that wants me. What are your thoughts to Pete Alonso and maybe trying to close the deal with Pete Alonso, being that he is a player in the face of that team and that organization?
I think it should be a top priority this offseason, especially if they're not going to be, necessarily spending like crazy in free agency. I mean, you got to lock up your franchise cornerstone player. And I know he's had his struggles this year, but, since he came into the league, no one has more home runs and more RBIs. And, he's just been that franchise guy for the Mets. And, I would be a mistake to let him go. I think that teams are probably going to be calling about potentially, trading for him in the offseason. But, I think the Mets would be crazy to not, sit down at the table and negotiate a long-term deal with him.
So Billy Eppler and Buck Showalter, both have had their issues this year with their particular roles. Do you think their jobs are safe going into next year?
Billy Eppler, I think, will be back next year. Buck Showalter, I'm not sure. I mean, he's got one more year on his deal. Like we said, if Stearns comes in, there's a chance that he brings Craig Counsell with him, and I think that would be an excellent managerial choice for the Mets. So I think Billy, is going to stay no matter what, and he's obviously been entrusted. Steve Cohen has entrusted him with with this transition period, rebuild, whatever you want to call it. Billy made the trades, and he's going to be entrusted with continuing to be the GM, obviously. But Buck Showalter, I would say his future is a little more murky there.
We are talking to Sports Illustrated Fan Nation Mets beat reporter Pat Ragazzo. I look at the Mets right now, and their best young player right now on their roster is Alvarez, who's having a really good year. He's been hot and cold in the beginning of the season, but he's picking up steam in the second half. What are your thoughts to Alvarez?
I think Alvarez has been one of the lone bright spots this year. You talk about Senga, and then you look at Alvarez. They've really been the only two lone bright spots of the Mets season this year. And I think Alvarez is going to be a star. I mean, he's hit over 20 home runs as a catcher, and he's been as good as advertised. There's obviously room for improvement, in the batting average and OPS departments, but yeah, I think that the future is bright, and he's going to be looked at as one of these franchise players moving forward, obviously.
So two guys in the veteran department that have been particularly down was obviously Marte, who's been hurt a lot, and then McNeil, who had a really bad year, after winning a batting title last year. Are you worried about either of them long term?
A little bit. I mean, you look at Marte, I mean, he had the double groin surgery in the offseason, and he even admitted that, it's affected his hitting, affected his hips and his power at the plate, and it showed this year, in the amount of extra base hits he has, his OPS, his home runs and RBIs, and he's got to get healthy. I am concerned, obviously, about his health, and McNeil, yeah, you got to get him right. I mean, he had a very bad year in 2021, and he's arguably had a worse year this year. So, you got to get him fixed, and whether it be the change in hitting coach or change in approach, philosophy, whatever it may be. Yeah, you gotta. It's hard to count on a guy. Coming off a bad year like that. But yeah, I mean, McNeil has the talent, but yeah, I definitely worry about both those players.
Pat, I don't want to get you in trouble, but I know you work for Sports Illustrated, and I love the swimsuit edition. And I know you checked out the swimsuit edition. Is there any particular centerfold woman that you liked in the Sports Illustrated, swimsuit edition?
Don't lie
now. Don't lie. I want the truth here.
I like Livy Dunn. I like how they put Livy Dunn in it.
Oh, he likes the the gymnast. I like it.
Yeah,
Love
big fan
the
of her.
gymnasts. Speedy, you like gymnasts?
I do. They are very talented athletes.
Well, did you ever think about dating a gymnast?
No, because
Why? 'Cause they're too
last one I
flexible
knew,
for you?
the last one I knew personally was like
I didn't ask you what you know. I said, would you like to date a
I
gymnast?
could.
Is she flexible enough for you?
I would hope so if she's a gymnast.
Well, I'm just asking. I mean, if she asked you, like, if she wanted to show you one of her, double flip, and she wanted to double flip on top of you, would you
Oh
let
God,
her?
why would I let her land on me?
Why not?
I don't know. The way
She's light
gymnasts
as a
can be-
feather.
Yeah, they can jump high though.
So because she jumps high, she can't land on top of you?
A falling object and landing on top of me is not ideal.
She's a woman.
I know that.
If it was a man, I would worry about what we're talking about right now. But a woman, I think I would love Mrs. Dunn or Miss Dunn falling on top of me. You wouldn't love that?
All right, you can go to LSU and start dating her.
I'm sure she's got a lot of guys lined up.
Yeah.
I don't think she needs me. Okay.
Yeah,
She's a young one. I'm 41. I mean, I think Pat has a better chance. I mean, how old are you, Pat?
27.
He's still, I think she'd go with a 27-year-old. She wants somebody with a little bit more education, if you know what I mean, Speedy.
Well, LSU is known for their great athletic prowess, not as much the academic prowess. Hey, they have 2 national championships this year with women's basketball and with baseball. So they definitely have a justification this year.
They're athletes.
So I want to go back to baseball. We'll get away from gymnastics. Sports Illustrated actually had an interesting article too with the sticky substances at the beginning of the year too, and the Mets obviously have been caught with a lot of it. The Yankees have been obviously caught with a lot of it. Do you think that really hurt somebody like Max Scherzer and some of the other Mets pitchers this year, and also the rule as a whole in baseball? What do you think of it?
I think that there should be a rule for how the whole thing with and we saw it with Max this year. The umpire deeming what's too sticky and what's not. I think that there needs to be a rule. There needs to be more of a fine line than just an umpire saying, "Oh, nope, your hands are too sticky. You're out of here." I think that needs to be cleaned up. Obviously, it needs to be more clear, and on the pitchers need to be on the same page with the umpires, obviously. And yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell, whether that's affected Scherzer or not. I mean, all the pitchers in the league were utilizing sticky substances for a very long time, to give them the better grip. And, there should be something that they can use besides rosin. I think that helps them because, again, we're talking about player safety here. And, you don't want a pitch getting away, hitting a guy in the head. We've seen it too many times in the past couple of years. So I think that needs to be, kind of altered there.
Listen, Pat, I'm not falling in love with you, okay? Because I'm straight here, but I love your thoughts of sticky substances because it's been going on forever. I mean, for baseball, it just like steroids. I mean, amphetamines has been going on for 40, 50 years. We've had how many athletes on this show telling us, baseball players saying that steroids should be allowed in baseball. And we sit here today and they're complaining about sticky substances on pitchers' hands when it's been going on. I bring it up again, Major League. You had Harris talk to the Wild thing, and he says, I'll put whatever I need on the ball, snot, crap, whatever the hell he puts on it. He said, I don't have an arm like you. So it's been going on for ages, and now Rob Manfred, who wants to change the game because the guy's a complete moron, hopefully Theo Epstein takes over as the commissioner of baseball, because this guy is a complete moron. But nevertheless, this is ridiculous, Pat. I agree with you 110%. My last question for you, Pat. You look at baseball as a whole, and you look at, the dominance of certain teams and certain organizations because they have more money. And now baseball is growing, and now big, small market teams have big players because they can afford to pay those big players. Do you believe baseball will transition and where we're going to see teams in the World Series, not the Yankees, not the Astros, not the Red Sox, not those big market teams like the Dodgers and St. Louis? Are we ever going to see a consistency of maybe, I don't know, the Kansas City Royals or the Cleveland Indians or, I don't know, the Chicago White Sox in the world? Do we believe that baseball is going to transition this way?
It's hard to say because, those teams will they become good and they'll go to a World Series. You saw the Royals won in 2015. They beat the Mets, and you'll see them go to the World Series, maybe go to the playoffs a couple times, but then they wind up tearing it down and they go into rebuild mode, and the rebuilds last 7 to 10 years. And, it's just, unless you're in that big market spending money, it's kind of hard to, build a sustainable winner. Just because we see these teams tear it down so often. It's really, tough to see these teams, in the World Series on a consistent basis.
So my last question is, the rule changes this year have been a big factor. We talked about the sticky substances earlier, but also the pitch clock, the bigger bases, stuff like that. Any that you like and any that you don't like in being implemented in the game?
There's not necessarily any that I don't like, but I love the pitch clock because of what it's done to speed up the game. A nice 2.5 hour game. It's, it definitely beats the 3.5, 4. 4 hours. It's we've still seen some long games this year, but I do really love the pitch clock and what it's done to kind of change the length of the game.
Well, Pat, keep up the good work. We've spoken to one of your bosses over there at Sports Illustrated. He's fantastic. Speedy.
Mark Pattison,
who's
yes.
Mark is a really, really nice guy, a friend of the show. We really do love him. He's been on our show twice, and he says that he brings only the best into Sports Illustrated. So I guess he predicts that you're the best, Mr. Ragazzo. So we really appreciate your time. We'll get you on closer to the end of the season. And I've been reading some of your stuff. It's fantastic. So keep up the good work, my friend.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Pat Ragazzo. And I didn't mess up his name this time. It is good. I mean,
yeah, you got it.
There you go. I mean, now we're friends. And by the way, he actually likes the swimsuit edition. Speedy, have you checked out the swimsuit edition?
Not in a while.
What do you mean not in a while? You don't like women?
I don't really watch.
You don't like women. If I got you, a swimsuit edition of Men, would you like that?
No, I don't really read magazines.
I'm just saying. I think
Pat, I've read your stuff online. I haven't really actually gotten a magazine.
I'm just asking you if you like the swimsuit edition. Do you want me to get you it? Do you want to check it out? Well, you don't want to check it out?
If I wanted to look that up, I can look it up
I
online.
think it would be good for you. And
Good for you.
Maybe you can use it in the bathroom.
Okay, I don't need a magazine. I can look that stuff up online.
I'm
it's called
just
the
trying
internet.
to help you, man.
It's called the internet.
So you're telling me you look at naughty things on your computer?
If I wanted to, I would.
So you do.
If I wanted to, I would.
But that's not the answer. Do you or do you not?
I don't care. That's not the point.
You
the
do
point is,
care.
I'm not getting paper print in a digital era. And I think Pat, who works over there at Sports Illustrated, knows that they have to transition to a digital era and a digital media society.
So
they have for the most part, yeah.
So you have a floppy hard drive that you use for
floppy hard drive. What is this, 20 years ago?
Well, floppy.
Floppy hard
Something's
drive.
got to flop.
Floppy hard drive. Now he's going back to 2001.
Pat, thank you for joining us, man.
Thanks for having me.
Oh man, Pat probably thinks we're nuts.
Yes, between media history and swimsuit variation things, yeah, that would be a lot to process at the end of an interview.
That was good, man. I like Pat.
Oh no, Pat was fantastic.
Pat's good. You definitely thank him for joining us on the show.
Yes,
he was fantastic.
Yes, he was.
He gave us some good takes with the Mets and baseball and the transition of new rules. I mean, if you're a baseball fan, he gave you the answers that you absolutely want. So, and Pat agrees with us. I think baseball is, it's changing, and I don't know if it's changing for the good reasons. He likes the pitch clock. I don't. So that's something we disagree about.
Yeah, you and Nelson Figueroa, these anti-pitch clock stands.
Yeah, because it's stupid, man. Baseball's been doing this forever. It's been going on for ages. Now all of a sudden, you know what? We're going to change it. You know why? Because the commissioner, the idiot of baseball, is he's just adding new rules. What is he? Fall asleep on it, and he wakes up and says, "You know what? I'm going to add a pitch clock. You know what? No more. I don't know." The third baseman can play first base, but the first base can't play third base. I mean, let's change the rules, man. How about this? Maybe, certain teams can bring out their fans and they can play center field and left field and right field. They can go out and catch the ball. You don't need to pay outfielders anymore.
Yeah, maybe at this rate,
Let's do that.
Everybody in the 26-man roster is going to be in the starting lineup.
There you go. Or maybe we'll get ex-players, Hall of Famers, out of retirement to play specific positions.
Yeah, why not at this rate? The Mets are going to need it. The amount of players they're losing.
If a fan catches the ball out in the audience, it's an out. How about that?
Oh, that was the Savannah Bananas rule that Matt Joyce was mentioning.
Let's do that.
I think that was that. Yeah.
Let's do that.
Why not? They're the most popular minor league baseball team.
That would force 50,000 fans to buy baseball clubs.
That is true to that. Yes, John, we did not forget that Brandon Nimmo is on the Mets. He's actually been a bright spot as a hitter this year. Not as much a defender. He regressed a little bit from where he was last year, but still has done well as a hitter. Braves will win 2-3 more World Series in the next 10 years. I absolutely believe that. Yes, they're a well-oiled machine. Pitch clock, it can only throw it to first base 2 times, makes it for a runner to steal bases. Yeah, except for Charlie Marte, who can't stay healthy.
I mean, is there any move at the trade deadline that really stuck out to you that you liked?
I think the Miami Marlins. I really like what they did.
The David Robertson thing?
David Robertson, Josh Bell, and I like the pitcher.
Jake Berger?
Jake Berger is a good power hitter for the White Sox this year. One of the few bright spots on this team. Miami really needed
the name
that.
Berger.
Yeah, they actually had a giveaway. I think they have like $5
Burger
night
Day
or something. Yeah, they got it already. I think tomorrow or Friday, one of their home games.
Get your burgers, get it while it's hot.
Against the Phillies, they got already a $5 burger night based on the name. But yeah, I think they needed more power in that lineup because they really have a good combination of everything else. They have good speed, they have good, obviously, Arias and guys like that can hit for average the way they do, and their starting pitching depth is getting better from where it was in the beginning of the season. So I think them getting a lot more offense bolstered in a National League East that's already tough, a National League that is really congested in that wild card spot. You were talking about the Mets only being like, I guess, 7 games back or something like that, but you still have to leapfrog 5 other teams. That's how many teams are right on the radar. I think it's the Giants, Diamondbacks, and the Phillies right now, and the Marlins are outside looking in, but like there's a lot of teams all congested in that spot. Then there's the Reds and the Brewers, and I think they did the best of those fringe teams trying to get at the trade deadline. The Diamondbacks only made some small moves. The Giants really didn't do anything, which was surprising, and the Phillies did a couple small moves too, but Miami, I think, really set their mark at potentially making the playoffs. And if they make the playoffs, this is the year of the South Florida underdog, so why not?
Well, if you're a wrestling fan, Vince McMahon head to the emergency room. He is out on medical leave. So he was in the emergency room last night, and there was some kind of post that he will be out for the WWE for the next couple of weeks, maybe in the next couple of months, because of a medical issue that he has. So if you're a wrestling fan and you love Vince McMahon, he won't be around for a while. So there you go. If you're a Vince McMahon fan, I know he did sell. I think he sold wrestling to the UFC, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that does sound familiar. I think Josh mentioned that.
And then we will get into the Errol Spence and Crawford fight. I know everybody can't wait for that because I told you guys to bet the boat on Errol Spence, but boy, oh boy, was I wrong. And we'll get into some UFC as Poirier gets knocked out with a kick. So we'll get into that as well. I'm sure a lot of people watching those fights as well this past weekend. If you're a betting man and you're a fighting fan, a lot of craziness, that's for sure. I'm definitely not. So you could take that to the bank. But I do want to get into some football. What were you going to say?
I was just going to read John's comment. Do you think Kamara will get a suspension, although charges have been dropped? Yeah, I think he still will, but it might not be 6 games like we were thinking. It might be only like 3 or 4.
He's definitely going to be suspended.
Yeah. I think they're going to have that decision tomorrow.
This is like his 2nd or 3rd offense.
Yeah, right. He had the one in, I think, 2020. Yeah. He had an issue, and then he had one, obviously it was in college, but he had one at Tennessee. So it's definitely kind of a reputation repeat offender type thing. Again, if the charges were dropped, it's not going to be like the massive one we were thinking, but I still think he'll get 3 or 4 games.
And if any fan wants to call the show,
631-672-3108.
And Speedy's supposed to keep it posted on our social media platforms so everybody can tune in and call the show if they want. So, guys, as everybody knows, you can call the show throughout the show. If you want to interact with us, you're more than welcome to. As Speedy gave you our number. Again, Speedy, what is the number?
631-672-3108.
Jonathan Taylor officially requested a trade from the Colts on Saturday. Owner Jim Irsay says the Colts have no intentions on trading Taylor. And mention, if I die tonight and Jonathan Taylor is out of the league, no one's going to miss us. The league goes on. We know that. Taylor also took shots at ESPN, who claimed that he had a back issue going into training camp, which he said were false. Taylor was one of many running backs to take shots at NFL owners and GMs for the struggling running back market, saying, if you're good enough, they'll find you. If you work hard enough, you'll succeed. If you succeed, you boost the organization. And then, doesn't matter, you're a running back. Taylor will be fined $40,000 by the Colts for each day that he misses. Taylor was not a first-round pick, so he doesn't have a fifth-year option, making him an unrestricted free agent if he plays this season. However, if he holds out the whole season, he would be a restricted free agent going into the offseason. I do not believe he's going to hold out. I cannot see Jonathan Taylor doing that. I also don't believe that the Colts are going to trade him. I think the reason why Jonathan Taylor does not want to be a Colt is he doesn't like the offense. And he obviously doesn't like the offense because it's not running through him anymore. And I believe Jonathan Taylor is one of the more dominant running backs in the league. And if you're playing fantasy football this year, he is going to drop if he doesn't play all preseason and he doesn't play for the OTAs. I cannot see Jonathan Taylor being a high first-round draft pick going into this fantasy year. Right now, I think he's ranked 4th or 5th. And now he could drop all the way into the 3rd or 4th round. And he might be a steal if you play fantasy football in the 3rd or 4th round. Because if he decides to come back or he misses a couple of games, you got yourself a number 1 running back who was ranked number 1 in all of fantasy last year.
And it makes the Jim Irsay, the comments really disgusting in itself too. If he's going to die tonight, we're not going to care. Like, that's just so stupid to say in itself. And it's going to drive Jonathan Taylor away from having any shot at trying to re-sign with the organization as it is. And then you're saying you're not going to trade him, so you're going to hold him hostage. And really, that's not a good way to treat players. And that's going to be enticing for players to want to come there. The Colts have had trouble with free agency as it is. How many times have they been in on a big free agent and they have all this money to spend? They're the number 1 team in salary cap in the offseason. They never get these guys. And a lot of that has to do with Jim Irsay's reputation as an owner. And obviously Dan Snyder is now finally gone. So he's one of the few old school stubborn owners left.
This is what bothers me about the NFL and ownership and these executives, these GMs that speak out about the running back position and making it seem that the running back position isn't important. The running backs get the worst beatings every single year. And I understand the way they structure the game is they want these running backs to play 3 or 4 years, and then they throw them to the wolves and let them become free agents because they don't want to pay them. But when they are usually 50 to 60% of your offense, how could you disrespect that particular player when he's in the prime of his career and he's gone out there week in and week out and put his body on the line? We talk about concussions. We talk about CTE. We talk about everything that's going on in sports. And you look at the position that the players get the worst beatings. You have to run through defensive linemen at 350, 360 pounds, 380 pounds, beating the hell out of you at the line of scrimmage. And you're doing everything you can to break a tackle and try to get those extra yards. And you don't get the respect from ownership. You don't get the respect by your own coaches when it comes down to your contracts and your contract disputes. And I believe Jonathan Taylor has an interesting thought to the fact that the organization doesn't respect him as a running back. So if I was Jonathan Taylor, I'd say, you know what? I don't want to be a running back anymore. Put me at wide receiver. I can catch the ball. I can run faster than any of these wide receivers. How about this? Put me as a strong safety. I could probably run better than any of your strong safeties and intercept the ball because I can actually catch the ball.
Can't be any worse than all the injury-riddled defensive backs the Colts had last year.
I mean, it's disrespectful. It really is. I understand there's certain positions that you look at, and those are the positions you want to build your team around. The quarterback position, the offensive tackle position, the cornerback position, the defensive end position. Those are the 4 most important positions. Each position plays a big part of a championship team. Now, what Jeff would say, and most people will say, hey, look at Kansas City. Every time they win, they have a different running back. But again, when the game was dominant in the 80s and the 90s, and those running backs, those big running backs, the Walter Paytons of the world, the Emmitt Smiths of the world, all of them, Barry Sanders, who never really barely played in the playoffs because his team sucked, but nevertheless.
They won the one playoff game in their franchise history in the Super Bowl era with Barry Sanders.
The running back position played a big part of the way the team runs their offense. And now because the league has changed, because these wide receivers are prima donnas, and they have to wear dresses when they want to go into their third or fourth years, and they want $100 million because they're the crap. I don't want to say it on, on live radio, but you know what I'm talking about. That bothers me more than anything. Because the running back is a big part of a team's offense. If you look at the Jets' offense last year, before Breece Hall got hurt, Breece Hall was about 40% of the Jets' offense last year. Maybe because the quarterbacks couldn't throw the ball. They had 3 of them that were just absolutely horrific. But nevertheless, he was 40% of the Jets' offense. He was a rookie. For years, Ezekiel Elliott, and he got a lot of money. He was 40%, 45% of the Dallas Cowboys offense. And now with Pollard, you can contradict what they were last year. They are probably more than 40% of the Cowboys offense. It was really, I would say, the 2 running backs and CeeDee Lamb as the other 50%.
Right, because Pollard actually catch passes. Zeke didn't do much with that. Besides, I think his last year with the Cowboys, 2021.
I mean, I understand the way the game wants to, pursue players because of the position that they play. And organizations like to do that. But you have to look at the big picture for the league. And if you're telling a running back you're not going to respect the position that they play, you're not going to respect them after 3 or 4 years of their rookie contract, then just trade them. Just get rid of them. There are teams out there that value the running back position. There are. Because the Cowboys value him. I mean, they're paying Pollard $10 or $11 million, being that he got his I think it was a franchise
tag. Same as Saquon.
And Ezekiel Elliott got $16 million a year. So they were happy with that. McCaffrey's making about $15-16 million because of the Carolina Panthers. So they believed in him. And then there are teams that just don't believe in specific positions. And I don't understand it. I think it hurts the league. If I'm a running back right now going into, from college to the NFL, I'm telling them I don't want to play running back. I'd rather be a strong safety. I'm big enough to play linebacker. I'm 225 pounds. If I put on 15 pounds of muscles in the offseason, I'll play the safety position. At least I know I'm going to play 12 years in the NFL. It's terrible. I don't understand the league. I understand why people understand or try to predict certain players and their availability when they become free agents and decide if they're worth the money that they invest into them. But when you have guys like Saquon Barkley, who has really had trouble getting a contract from the Giants, Kareem Hunt that still doesn't have a contract, Ezekiel Elliott who still doesn't have a contract, Leonard Fournette that doesn't have a contract. These are still guys in the primes of their career. They still could play the game and they could still play it at a high level. Zeke ran over 1,000 yards last year. Kareem Hunt had close to 1,000 yards last year. Leonard Fournette had close to 1,000 yards last year. I think he was injured.
Scrimmage yards. I don't think rushing yards. Yeah.
But whatever. These guys are good offensive players, but they're disrespected by the league.
And again, you also look at somebody like Jonathan Taylor, too, who he had to play with many different quarterbacks throughout his career, too. Remember, he came in 2020 when the Colts had Phillip Rivers right at the end of his career, and they had a rookie wide receiver in Michael Pittman. You had an injury-prone receiver in T.Y. Hilton. That was really their offense and a multitude of tight ends. 2021, they try out Carson Wentz. He was efficient for his standards, but still was up and down throughout the year. And he still was great amidst all that. He had a rough first month, and it was the best running back in football the rest of the year. And then last year he had some injury issues. But again, who was his quarterback? Matt Ryan, who really fell off a cliff this year and definitely looked like he had to retire. And none of those other receivers really played well around him outside of Pittman to really supplement. All right, I'm going to take all the attention away from Jonathan Taylor. Now you go to a new coaching staff. And this is what's interesting too, because a coach comes from the Eagles, who they ran the ball very well last year. Obviously, great offensive line and Jalen Hurts, but still, they still had good running backs that were failing with other coaches, and they made it work. And Jonathan Taylor is a lot more skilled than the running backs the Eagles had last year. Why not? Would you not want to embrace that and try to get your contract up? At the same time, though, the way Jim Irsay's been treating you, faking a back injury and reporting this, misconstruing a report and saying all these stupid things about you, I don't blame you for that either.
Speedy, you have calluses?
Might. I don't know.
On your feet. You ever look at your feet? Do you have calluses?
I haven't looked for that.
You don't look at your feet?
Not for calluses, no.
Well, I do. I was just checking one out. Do you want to see it on live radio?
No, I don't.
I mean, it is disgusting.
I am not going to want to see a callus on live
Do you know
radio.
what a callus is, Speedy?
Yes, it's a marking based on like friction that is done by your hands or your feet.
How about your shoes?
Yeah, I guess your shoes could qualify for that. Sure.
Yes, it absolutely hurts. Have you ever had a hangnail?
No.
You've never had a hangnail?
I know what they are. I've heard. I know people that have had them, and they told me they were very painful. So, luckily, I have not had one.
So, if I have a hangnail, would you cut it for me if I needed you to?
I would not know how to do that.
But if I told you how to do it, would you do it on live radio?
Why would I care about a live radio versus?
I think people would be intrigued.
I guess to not get you in pain.
We'll get a camera. Yeah. We have a camera on it, and you could cut
I would.
it for me.
If you were in pain, yes.
I am in a little pain. I am.
But again, it's not.
Would you cut it for me on live radio?
If it was that painful, I suppose, I guess.
So are you willing to cut my...
I don't know how to do it, but I'll try.
If I told you how to do it, would you do it?
I'll try. That's the best I could do.
If you hurt me and I start to bleed, would you rush me to the hospital?
I would hope not.
If I started bleeding, would you faint?
No.
Would you cry?
No.
What would you do?
I would try to find something I would try to find something to clean the blood off and.
Oh, all right. Get me some peroxide, okay?
Yeah.
Clean the wound, man.
Yeah, I was going to say
clean the wound.
Some kind of chemicals. John says you look at the top paid running backs, they're always hurt. CMC 16 million, Kamara 15 million, Derrick Henry 12.5 million, Aaron Jones 11.5 million. Snug says the league on average run or pass more. That depends on the team. Zeke was worth every penny, 3 Super Bowls. John says, yeah, that's why they get paid more. Hell, even tight ends get paid more than running backs. Zeke going to the Patriots, that would be interesting. Oh, I do not have a foot fetish, Jeff.
He does. I think he does.
Of course you think that.
What, you like big feet or small feet?
I don't care.
I mean, would you rather a woman with a small foot?
I don't care about sizes.
I mean, do you think a foot is sexy?
I don't know.
If a woman had her nails painted on her feet, it would.
Yeah, I would. I like color.
Would you kiss the foot?
I don't know.
Would you suck the toes?
I have no idea.
I think you would.
Of course you do.
Would you think it was edible if you saw?
I'm not going to eat a person.
I didn't say you're going to eat it. It just looks edible.
I'm not going to care.
Aaron Rodgers responded to Sean Payton's comments taking shots at Nathaniel Hackett by saying, "Keep your coach's name out of my mouth." He also added that the comments were out of line and made Payton look insecure. Nathaniel Hackett also commented on Payton broke an unwritten code with coaches with his comments. Rodgers also added that Hackett is arguably my favorite coach. Payton mentioned that he doesn't want to give the story any more attention and that he and Rodgers are past it. The Jets and Broncos will face off Week 5 in Denver. Here's what I'm going to say about very respectful coaches around the league that haven't been in the league for a couple of years, decide to, come back because he gets traded for a first-round draft pick. Why open your mouth and open up a can of worms? Because now Aaron Rodgers responds. He obviously is not happy about the comments that Sean Payton said, as he said it to Schrager the other day when he was interviewed at the Jets camp. And to me, Aaron Rodgers is a guy that respects Nathaniel Hackett. It's his favorite coach. A lot of people believe the only reason why Aaron Rodgers came to the Jets was Nathaniel Hackett and why he was hired. I believe that was the Jets' plan, was to draw Aaron Rodgers by signing Nathaniel Hackett. And then, because of the whole Russell Wilson shebang bang in Denver, as the press has been attacking Russell Wilson in the season that he had last year, after getting a $210 million contract last year extension by the new Broncos ownership, he failed. The team actually gave up on Russell Wilson. The offensive line woes that he had in Seattle, well, after trading Russell Wilson, using those picks to add offensive line help, which gave them, I believe, a Pro Bowl tackle for the next, 10, 12 years, and giving them an opportunity to rebuild an offensive line that was one of the worst in the league for the last couple of years. And Russell Wilson fighting with the defense on the side as the defensive players were attacking the offense because they were on the field too long. And then you have a guy like Sean Payton who probably doesn't know what was really going on in that locker room because he wants to blame it on the coach. But obviously the coach is half to blame because he doesn't know how to control the players. But there's a reason why Russell Wilson wasn't liked in Seattle, as we've heard many different ex-Seattle Seahawks say that they didn't like Russell Wilson and they didn't get along with him. And then seeing him in Denver in his first year, not get along with the wide receivers. He didn't. Not get along with the defense. As Patrick Surtain, when they asked Patrick Surtain what he thought about Russell Wilson in the offense, he had no comment to say in the middle of the season, and he's their best defensive player. I mean, to me, it summarized what Sean Payton is, and that's a clown. And that's what, to me, Aaron Rodgers is going to do in week 5 to the Denver Broncos, is turn them into a circus. He is going to spin the wheel and make the deal. And Russell Wilson is not going to be able to keep up with that offense for the New York Jets. And I don't know if he's going to be able to score on that defense of the New York Jets because they're going to have the Broncos' name on their board for all 5 weeks, circled for week 5 when they, I think, play in Denver like they did last year and absolutely embarrass Sean Payton in that Denver Broncos team.
And also, you look at the Broncos, the way they're built right now, they improved their offensive line and they got some receivers back, but they already have 2 receivers already hurt now for the season. And that's not going to help anything. Tim Patrick, who was hurt last year too. And then KJ Hamler, who I think has some migraine issues. And
I
think he's stepping away for this season.
Hold on. John Suggs, are you sure about that? Rodgers has a 3-3 record against Sean Payton led teams. Sean Payton on the Saints. Sean Payton with Drew Brees. He doesn't have Drew Brees. John, what you misunderstand, and I like Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, and I'm going to say this nice and clearly for all you fans out there. Everybody wants to give Russell Wilson all the credit in the world because of what Seattle did when he was there, the offense that they had. Look who they had as their wide receivers. Look who they had. There is no question Russell Wilson wasn't the reason why they were a good offensive team, because last year with Geno Smith, they were amongst the top 12, top 13 offenses in all of football.
John, it's also 3-3. It's not like the Steelers, Mike Tomlin going up against the Patriots, where I think he's like 2-12 all time. It's not like that kind of sample either. He's 3-3, and I think they won the most recent meeting too in 2020 when they beat the Saints in New Orleans too, a Saints team that was the number 2 seed in the NFC. So he's had some good wins against the Saints.
He had DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. He had 2 really good, tight ends. He had good running backs. To me, Russell Wilson, as good as he was over there in Seattle and helped them win a Super Bowl, let's be honest. Why did they win the Super Bowl? Why did they go to almost back-to-back Super Bowls? Because of their defense. The Legion of Boom. That's the reason why their secondary which is probably one of the best secondaries of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And now this year with Geno Smith, with Njigba and Metcalf and Lockett, this team is even more explosive than they were when Russell Wilson was there.
And still have a good defense, too. They improved it a
And
lot
they
in the
drafted a
offseason.
running back. They still have Walker.
Mm-hmm.
And they have that offensive line, which, by the way, they didn't want to do when Russell Wilson was there, was help him build an offensive line because they said, you know what, let's kill the SOB.
Yeah, ironically, now one of the players that Russell Wilson on defense was fighting with last year was defensive tackle Draymond Jones, who is now where? On the Seattle Seahawks, ironically. And so there's a lot of other guys. They had a very good offseason bolstering that front seven as well. That's going to be a scary team. And the Broncos, if they want to be a scary team, they're going to figure out something character-wise. Because, yeah, it's interesting because Russell Wilson does have that kind of reputation, which was kind of weird because when those comments were initially being made, it's like in 2015 and 2016 and whatever, when these players were leaving, like okay, it's a Richard Sherman. He's a loudmouth. Bobby Wagner, Cam Chancellor, all these guys, they love to talk. Like, it's not surprising. But then later on, more and more players got to do it. And it started to add up over time in Seattle, too, where that whole defense was pretty much gone, and they really had to transform themselves into an offensive team. And Russell Wilson, he wasn't really a volume quarterback in terms of a heavy passing attack until probably 2015, that second half of that 2015 season where Marshawn Lynch got hurt. And since then, I think that 5-year peak, he was great. But ever since then, in 2020 and beyond, he's still been kind of iffy since really that wrist injury, that thumb injury, whatever he had in 2020. And that's really damaged him since then. And it's going to take a while for him to adjust to a very complicated offense, too, that Sean Payton has. I know Trevor Price, when we had him on the show, was saying it wasn't as complicated as you think, but it's still a lot more complicated than some of these offenses he's played with these other offensive coordinators.
And also, a lot of people like Miami this year. And the questions are with their injury report. Tyreek Hill is injured right now, could miss a significant amount of time. Jalen Ramsey is hurt. He is going to miss a significant amount of time. And when's the next time, or maybe the next player we're going to hear in the next couple of weeks is Tua being hurt, because the guy never stays healthy. So for all those AFC East fans out there that have Miami surprising everybody to win the division, I think you need to take 2 steps back, because you don't know what this Miami team is going to be before the season starts.
Don't worry. They solved their Jalen Ramsey issue. They signed the great Eli Apple.
Oh, I'm sorry. There it is. For all you Giant fans, maybe they should hire their mother to be a reporter on the sidelines.
Why not? You already deleted all her social medias anyway. So what kind of information could get out possibly in Miami?
I mean, she didn't shut up when he was in New York. I mean, seriously.
It's Miami. What could possibly go wrong?
I read so many different things throughout the social media markets, and I try to compare and contrast on what people are trying to say that is going to happen this year in the NFL, in the conferences of the AFC, and maybe in the conferences of the NFC. And everybody has the Green Bay Packers possibly winning the division, which I don't understand that. Now, I like what their defense did. They have with their defense. Alexander's still there. They have weapons on the defensive side of the ball. What do they have offensively? Like, seriously, you're going into a season, which they just dropped. And by the way, shout out to Mr. McDonald.
Yes.
Cameron McDonald, who we interviewed a couple of weeks ago, who is now no longer a part of the Green Bay Packers organization because he was let go today. So he is a free agent. Hopefully a team out there picks him up. We will be reach out to Cameron and see how he's doing, because we like Cameron. And he was very confident about his talent, comparing his ability to a Travis Kelce, Slash. Who else?
Mark Andrews, I think he mentioned. So,
Yes.
yeah.
So I liked Cameron, and I wish him nothing but the best. And I do believe there'll be a team out there interested in him, because there's to get a tight end who can run a 4-5, 4-6, and can do other things on the field, blocking, like he was saying what he does. I was very surprised to hear today early in OTAs that he was dropped. So
yeah, we knew that kind of thing coming in was going to be tough, because the Packers drafted 2 other tight ends too, and it's just unfortunate for somebody like Cameron, who was an undrafted guy, a 5th-year senior. And unfortunately, the way a lot of these NFL teams or evaluate these prospects now is the same kind of thing we were talking about with Will Levis, why he fell. He was an older player, like he was 24 when he was drafted, and Cameron, same kind of thing. A 5th-year senior they're going to value that kind of thing. So yeah, hopefully he does get on board somewhere else. But yeah, the Packers are just filled with tight ends and running backs, and we'll have to see what they are with wide receiver and quarterback. quarterback.
Now, Deshaun Watson is a guy that I'm going to be watching going into OTAs this year. And the reason why is he missed all of the season last year. I think he came back in week 11 or week 12.
Yeah, week 12. I think he was spending 11 games.
And as he missed a significant amount of time because of his massaging ways. Okay.
Yes.
Whatever he was doing on and off the field. But there is something about Deshaun Watson going into the season that really stands out. I don't know if Deshaun Watson is the same player that we remember him to be, especially what he did with the Texans. But if he's even a quarter of that or half of that, the Browns have a very good chance in a division that is very wide open. Now, obviously with Odell Beckham over there in Baltimore and the offensive prowess that they're going to have going into the season with the defense they have and obviously paying Lamar Jackson was just something they should have done 2 years ago.
Right.
A lot of people have Baltimore winning the division. And then there's Cincinnati with Joe Burrow. Now, I don't know how significant his injury is.
Doesn't seem that bad.
So he'll be ready for the start of the season. But is this the same Cincinnati Bengals team that we saw last year? They lost a lot of defensive players in the offseason. And their offensive line that played well in the second half last year is not what I think as good as people think they are. So I think there's a lot of deficiencies of the Cincinnati Bengals. And nobody's talking about the Cleveland Browns. Nobody. And they're playing the Jets Thursday night, Hall of Fame game. The Jets already came out and said that they're not starting. Yes, I repeat it. Not starting any starters except Mekhi Becton. So if anybody believes that Mekhi Becton is going to win the job at right tackle for the New York Jets, it doesn't seem like he is, because if he's playing in the first game of the preseason and no other starter is, that's not a good sign.
Maybe the Browns will just rest all their starters too and just let Elijah Moore get 150 yards.
Well, Elijah Moore has a lot to prove. I'm sure he's going to try to prove it against the Jets this year. I think they're matched up against them sometime this year. But I think Elijah Moore didn't fit the offense. And I think, obviously, Mike LaFleur didn't want him to fit the offense, and hence the reason why at the trade deadline last year he wanted out. But now he's with the Browns, and he has Deshaun Watson. He has Cooper on the other side. Amari Cooper had a very good year. Just to me, having one weapon on the offensive side of the ball, besides their running backs, who are fantastic.
They got good tight ends, too.
They have. Do you really like what their tight ends have done the last couple of years?
The tight end production has been
Njoku,
good. Yeah, just injuries. You
can't stay healthy.
Yeah, you just got to worry about that. But
he was a first-round talent.
He was drafted in the first round right after Evan Ingram. Giants legend Evan Ingram. To go along with Giants legend Eli Apple.
Who's now with the Jaguars, who just got an extension.
Yeah, one of the higher-paid tight ends in the league. And Njoku got a nice contract last year, too. And he proved it in the sample he was healthy. He was a little healthier than he was in previous years, but still has to get it consistently. But what's interesting with the Browns is they actually have a little more depth than even what he's had with the Texans in the past, too. Because think about the Texans. Like, Hopkins was a great receiver, probably better than anything Cooper ever is. But after that, they were trusting, Will Fuller was fine when he was healthy, but he had pot hands, too, and he was never healthy. And then they had all these other random guys, too. They tried Braxton Miller as a wide receiver. They had no tight ends.
I do like their defense. And if you look at the AFC, they're loaded defensive teams. There's so many loaded defensive teams throughout the AFC. You have the Jets, the Buffalo Bills, Miami, even the Patriots. Then you have Pittsburgh, and you have Cleveland. I wouldn't say the Bengals are a defensive team now.
Yeah,
I think
see how the rookies play. Yeah.
I think they're more of an offensive team. If you look at Tennessee, they're a great defense.
Yes.
The Texans will be better this year. Indianapolis should be a good defense. I mean, with the talent that they've had over the last couple of years and the money that they've spent.
Yeah, and the underwhelming free agents that they've had.
The Jaguars are a good defense. And then you look at Kansas City, I think they're going to have a little bit of problems this year. I think the Chargers are going to be a lot better than people think. Their defense, if they stay healthy with Derwin James and Bosa, I mean, they're loaded.
If they can find some way to at least be average at stopping the run.
And then there's the Raiders that are going to stink defensively.
Of course.
So, I mean, there's a lot of – and the Broncos. Their Broncos should be a good defensive team too, even though Sean Payton is there and he is going to be pushing offense than defense. But the Cleveland Browns should be a top 10 defense this year. Myles Garrett, one of the best defensive linemen in all of football, if not the best defensive end. I mean, you can argue him, Micah Parsons,
Nick Bosa.
I mean, these guys are fantastic. And they have weapons. And now going into the season with Elijah Moore and Nick Chubb and Amari Cooper and Deshaun Watson, this team can absolutely compete against the elite of the elite in the conference.
And also Jim Schwartz on that defense too, coming in as a defensive coordinator.
Yes.
I think is really going to be a big boost for them as well, especially for
right.
their pass rush. Before we get to the call, John says he has Green Bay winning 7-8 games. Would be funny to see if Dalvin Cook goes there to rub it in the Vikings' face. The Packers don't need running backs, John. They need wide receivers. Do you think the Rams will surprise people, especially from last year? They'll be better, but I don't know about surprise people. And now we have Jeff.
Jeff, what's up, man?
Hello, Earl. How are you? Speedy. Stay away from Earl's feet.
I will stay away from everyone's feet. Don't worry.
It's Errol, not Earl, you idiot.
Right. Well, just tipping the cap to old Miami. We miss him.
Well, he's in jail.
Hopefully he enjoys watching
Or
Eli
alive.
Apple ruin his football team.
Who knows if he's even alive?
Oh, yeah. There's also that.
Listen, I wanted to have a discussion with you, an adult discussion without you getting mad, by the way, about a statement that you just made.
Let's hear it.
Who do the Packers even have? Okay?
I'm not talking about
let's do this.
defensively. No.
You said weapons because you were like talking about the wide receivers and things like that. So I just want to have a discussion because I think it highlights a point that right. They have Christian Watson. I think Christian Watson's pretty good. Romeo Doubs is okay. And then Jaden Reed, Will Steve, rookie guy, Samari Toure, Damian Wicks, whatever. But don't you think that they would be better served having paid another wide receiver?
Do I think they should have another paid wide receiver? Is that
Yeah,
what
wouldn't it help if they had actually paid money to get another wide receiver? Because they got a couple of all right dudes, but no one really there that great, and that's what it would be, right?
The trades were there last year. They could have.
They could have added Hopkins.
Right. But would you agree they would be better off with a higher paid guy, a wide receiver, let's just say an $11.5 million receiver. Who would those guys be this year? It would be Jacoby Myers.
Okay.
It would be Juju Smith-Schuster. I'm just trying to think of the dudes that got $11 million, right? Wouldn't this team be better with a guy like that?
A lot better than what they have right now. And we don't, again, going back to...
all right. So, yes, a lot better than what they have right now. You didn't answer the question. So, to highlight the point now, I'd like to let you know that the Packers have the 5th highest paid running back in the league. This is why running backs don't get paid, because you didn't view it as a weapon. Aaron Jones is a top 5 paid running back, and you did not view it as a weapon. You said, who do they have? Nothing. There's no weapons on offense.
Because I don't think he's much of a weapon without Aaron Rodgers.
Because this is the point with running backs anyways, right? They're not worth the money they're getting paid. You're better off, and we just all agreed on it. You think they'd be better off paying receivers?
I don't like Aaron Jones.
This is why
I don't like
teams
him.
don't pay running backs.
Aaron Jones choked in the playoffs 2 years ago and couldn't do anything in the playoffs. Then he got pulled for a backup running back.
First of all, if you go back to the playoff game, Packers at home against the 49ers, where the 49ers lost, they couldn't score any points. Aaron Jones was the best player on offense for that team.
I'm not even talking about that.
Yeah, when they disappeared in the second half, too.
I'm talking about when he played Tampa. I'm talking about how he disappeared. I'm talking about when he was pulled out of the game in the second half because he couldn't produce. And then they paid him the year right in the offseason, $13 million or $14 million, when I believe he couldn't show up in a big game. The guy is not a big-time player. He's not. And now with Aaron, that's not the point, because Saquon Barkley had Daniel Jones, who everybody wanted to get rid of last year. All of a sudden, he had one good season, which I like, and I'm not taking shots at Daniel Jones. He puts up the numbers, and they don't want to pay him.
But But he doesn't put up the numbers because he's been in the league 4 years and he's missed 2 full seasons. So if you're blaming Aaron Jones because he put up a stinker of a game, that's fine. But at least he was in the game. Saquon Barkley doesn't even play, and you're advocating to pay him. This is why people don't pay running backs. No one views them as weapons. But Aaron Jones is on this team, and I get that you don't like him. He's a pretty damn good running back.
I don't like him.
Jeff, you also look at last year, though, how many wide receivers were available for trades, too. They could have done that and then paid the guy the next year, too, and maybe let a couple defensive players go. The Packers are kind of...
You're playing a semantics game where, maybe they make a trade of this. everyone.
No, last year I'm talking about when all the 2019 draft receivers
and you
were
also say they
available.
don't pay running backs. Why did the Packers pay him? Why did they give him $13 million?
Right, but the Packers are one of the reasons why it's a poor decision to pay running backs. There's a ton of them around the league. Saquon Barkley's always getting hurt. Zeke Elliott, how did that contract work out for the Cowboys after they paid Zeke?
Pretty good.
They were lamenting it the day they signed it.
First of all, and I just want to, if you want me to go and look at Zeke's numbers, they were pretty good. All right, he got
outperformed by a guy that made $800,000 last year.
And that's why they gave him the job, because they don't want to pay Zeke any more of that money. They wanted to save money.
Because he's not worth the money. That's why they got rid of him. He wasn't worth the paying him the money.
I don't know. Zeke Elliott, who's played how many years? Let's see.
Like 7.
3, 6, 7 years, and he has almost 10,000. He's what, 1,800 yards away from 10,000 yards.
But everyone can do the math there. Everyone can do the math there. You're like, he has had a fine career so far, and no one is disputing.
He had 12 touchdowns last year.
Right, but every team is playing the math on this one. How much longer is he going to last, and who's going? Oh, it's likely he signs with the Patriots, correct? What do you think the Patriots give him?
I don't know.
$3 million, $4 million?
Yeah, I was going to say the Patriots are not going to pay anyone.
Why do you think he's likely to go to the Patriots?
He's ever since he went on a visit, he's been staying in New England. And by the way, I'll even send you the picture. This should be the clincher for you. He's been spotted in restaurants eating dinner.
with Mac Jones, no less. And I saw a meme.
Mac Jones, no less.
I saw a meme on Twitter, Jeff.
In a restaurant next to Donovan Mitchell.
Jeff, I saw a meme. One of the guys that used to be on our network posted a meme.
You idiots.
What are Mac Jones and Ezekiel Elliott staring at? Their NFL futures being bleak for different reasons.
He's been sitting in a restaurant in New England.
Speedy's seen the picture. He's been in a restaurant, and
I don't look at pictures.
On this show, that is the beacon of truth right there. That if they eat in a restaurant, they must love the city.
John says Zeke will sign $3-4 million per year for 2 years. He also said Jarvis Landry is a free agent and Kenny Golladay is a free agent. Well, Kenny Golladay doesn't really qualify as a wide receiver.
Honestly,
right
I
now.
think Zeke would be a great addition to the New England Patriots. I really do. He's a great red zone guy. He scores a lot of touchdowns. If you look at his career, in the 7 years that he's played, he has 68 touchdowns. That's almost 10 touchdowns a year. How many players in NFL history has done that?
Right,
many
but
players?
everyone can do the math. But everyone can do the math, right? Because let's be honest, how much longer does he have?
I think he could play another 2-3 years.
Well, that's fine. He can play another 2-3 years, but they probably won't be like his early years. And he'll be
But Jeff,
down,
he got he got his extension. He was making $16 million a year, so he still got paid.
Yeah, a little on the upfront, but the last years have been voided off of that. I'm pretty
Well,
sure.
hold on 1 second. He signed what, a 4-year deal? I think it was
in 2019.
Yeah, it was a 4-year deal. He played 3 of the 4. So, if anything, he won on that deal. He made his money. He made $16 million a year.
He was able to take advantage of an old man with dementia, and good for him. He was able to do that, right? And he was able to do that. But that still doesn't change the fact that when they gave him that money, they had to get rid of Amari Cooper and they had to get rid of some other guys to accommodate that contract. And when they did the Cowboys offense get better or worse?
There's no question they got worse. There's no question.
This is why you don't pay running backs. That's the only example I can give you. I gave you the Packers,
Jeff,
and now we're agreeing on the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
No. I'm saying we're agreed. When you do that,
let me ask you a question. When
the
Christian McCaffrey got traded to the 49ers, how good was the Carolina Panthers offense?
Well, he was always hurt, and it wasn't great.
But when he was in the lineup,
it was better. Well, it was better with him in it for sure, right? It was better with
a lot better.
That was the only right, but it was the only thing they had. But you're also forgetting.
Okay, he's the only thing they have. So we're talking about Saquon Barkley. What does the Giants have? Darren Waller, who can't stay healthy? This is what Giants analysts are saying all over New York media. Oh my God, we got a Pro Bowler. We got a guy that's going to produce. Give me a break. The guy hasn't produced in 2 years.
Hodges or Hedges, what's his name? Hedges, what's his name?
Isaiah Hodgins.
Isaiah Hodgins. I like that kid. He's done all right. And look, you can't help listen, you're trying to bring up the Giants, and okay.
I don't even think he's healthy this year, Isaiah Hodgins. Is he healthy?
It may be a fair point that you brought up the Giants.
Yeah.
However,
The tight end is.
you also can't hold it like that against them because they're a hapless front offense. They had a guy that was nicknamed the human joystick, and they didn't even give him a chance to play. And then when he went somewhere else and played, he was the best player in the Super Bowl.
And now he's already hurt.
Right, but he's still a very good player. Like everyone wants wide receivers because it's become more of a passing game, and that's where people want to allocate the money.
But
that's all I'm saying.
But the other issues with Kadarius Toney also were also injury related, and two, like Errol was saying last year about Elijah Moore, Kadarius Toney had a really bad attitude with that coaching staff in 2021. So
look, I just think it's interesting that you said the Packers have no weapons.
They don't,
but they have the fifth highest paid running back, and you can say what you want about not liking him, and that's your prerogative, and that's fine.
We'll see what he does without Aaron Rodgers.
Is Aaron Jones a good running back?
When Aaron Rodgers is there, yeah, he puts up the numbers when he's there, but he's not there anymore. So what is he going to be?
Right. Well, see, here's the problem with what you do.
Mm-hmm.
You're just throwing questions out into the
I am not throwing questions. I'm giving you facts. Well, how about this? When Aaron Rodgers was hurt, did Aaron Jones produce the numbers? When he was sitting out
pretty well.
When Aaron Rodgers wasn't in the lineup, he was doing pretty well, because I remember last year when they were playing Eagles in the second half, Aaron Jones when he did touch the ball, couldn't run the ball. They made him throw the ball.
Again, you're ignoring the obvious.
Just tell you facts.
You're ignoring the obvious part of the argument, which is if a team has. Dude, look at the Jets last year. How did any of their running backs do?
Please.
Not well. Not that well. Do you know why? Because you said it earlier, by the way. Oh, that also might have to do because they had no quarterback. So, yeah, running backs struggle when they know a team doesn't have a quarterback because they can just load the box and stop the run. So you're ignoring the strategy part of football when you go,
hold on one second. Hold on when you mentioned the Jets running game, because the Jets didn't have a good quarterback. And before Breece Hall got hurt, Breece Hall was going to have 1,300 yard season. He was playing great football before he got hurt. Yes, I do. Come on.
No.
Yes, you do.
He was playing. No, dude, stop. Yes, he was playing great football, but projecting a number like that also doesn't account for the rookie wall, which everybody hits. So you go, he's going to run for 12 or 1,500 yards. You don't know that.
How many games did Breece Hall play last year?
He got hurt week 7, so 7 games. Six plus the whatever.
So at almost 500 touchdowns. He averaged 5.8 an
500
average.
touchdowns.
500. I'm sorry. 500 yards. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, you idiot. I'm sorry, you idiot. Because you know what? You like to argue about stupid crap. Okay, he had 467 yards and 5.8 in average. How many running backs last year averaged 5.8 in average every time he touched the ball? Please, let's hear it. How many? How many?
It's very good. It's very good.
And they had no quarterback.
All right, you're not getting an argument from me there. But what you can't do is just go, well, he would have done that all year. Because rookies hit a wall and they break down after 10 games because that's what they're used to playing in college. So you can't just say, oh, well, he did it in one game, so he's going to do it in every game.
Did Walker break down in 10 games? Did he?
Yeah, he did. He did not have the greatest second half of the season, did he?
He got hurt, yeah.
He got hurt at the last 2 games of the season.
Oh, so rookie wall. He wasn't used to playing the amount of games, and so his body broke down.
Yeah, his body broke down. He still had over 1,000 yards. Yeah, he was horrible.
Right. No. Again, you're twisting the argument.
I'm not.
I know you are, because what I'm saying to you is, they both had great starts. They both had good years, but people slow down, especially rookies that aren't used to playing that many games. You see it all the time. So you just projecting out and yes, he would have done that kind of thing. It's ridiculous because it doesn't happen.
John said about Zeke, he signed a 6-year, $90 million contract in 2019. There was guaranteed money in the contract for the first 3 years. There is no guaranteed money in the final 3 years. Beginning in 2023, Zeke is expected to account for $16.4 million against the salary cap with a non-guaranteed $10.4 million.
What are you talking about this
salary.
year? You're talking about this year?
Yep. So the Cowboys.
Well, they could renegotiate it like Aaron Rodgers renegotiated his deal.
Yeah.
Right, but we all just agreed too that giving him that contract forced them to get rid of any good receiver they had outside of CeeDee Lamb, and they became a worse offense because of it. That's the indictment on paying running backs.
But they did. But the
rest
league,
of your abilities.
When Ezekiel Elliott came to the team, they built their offense through the offensive line, running the ball, because they were a powerful offensive line. As it progressed and they got older, they went to a throwing game with Dak Prescott, where they had to transition into the throwing game. So it hurt Zeke's skill of running the ball. And he is not a back that catches the ball. That's why they kept Pollard.
I would argue that should help his running game, because if you have a guy that can throw the ball better and produce that way, less guys play up at the line, and you should be able to run from.
They had one wide receiver, man. They had one wide receiver.
Right, because they had one wide receiver because they gave Zeke all the money. You just agreed with me on that whole.
No, I'm not.
Oh,
I'm telling you.
Zeke
You
and
told
they had to get rid of Amari Cooper and all those other dudes. That's what happened. That's what that contract did to that team. It made them worse.
You said it opened up the offense for him. It didn't open up the offense for him because teams knew.
No, you said at the beginning, and then that's what they were doing. But you would think having a quarterback that could throw the ball better would open it up for him, and it doesn't, because when you don't have wide receivers to throw it to that get open, because did they make a choice between Amari Cooper and Zeke Elliott?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, but they also still paid Amari Cooper before that. So.
And honestly, they did not want to trade Amari Cooper.
But they jettisoned him for Zeke Elliott. Yes, they paid him before that, but once they decided they were keeping Zeke, they immediately traded Amari Cooper, correct?
Well, there was a story coming out that CeeDee Lamb wanted to be the number one guy. He didn't want to sit behind Amari Cooper anymore, so they moved him, and they got as much as they can back.
He was not sitting. Both of them were on the field at the same time.
I didn't.
Sitting thing is ridiculous.
Listen, he wasn't getting the ball as much as he wanted it. Okay, he wanted to be the number one guy, and he was complaining that he wasn't getting enough looks from Dak Prescott when Amari Cooper was on the field. So they moved him because CeeDee Lamb was not happy, and he was their future.
All right, so there you have it. The front office is retarded, and a guy with dementia listened to a whiny crybaby and said, I want to be the only one. And when he was the only one, the offense got worse.
Well, the offense got worse because the offensive line is horrible. Okay, I mean, it's pretty factual.
Again, another reason not to pay the running back, right? Because you're making another argument to not pay the running back, to invest in the offensive line, and then anyone running behind that offensive line can run the ball effectively if you have a good offensive line.
But also in the case of the Cowboys, though, Travis Frederick retired early, I think at 31 or something. So that was kind of surprising. Tyron Smith was hurt all of last year. And because of his previous injury issues in the past, they had to invest more in the offensive line in the draft in order to at least get his competence too. And also the offense looked bad the first 2 years, keep in mind, because they also were coached by Jason Garrett. Now they're coached by Mike McCarthy.
Right, but I'm just making the point because he's been harping on pay the running back.
How good was the Giants' offensive line last year? Let me ask you that question. How good was that line? They were horrible.
Great,
what did Saquon put up last year?
First of all, there's several arguments to be made.
Oh, I can't wait to hear it. Let's hear it.
No.
Wide receivers, they had none. Let's go.
Oh my God, dude, bet the boat, okay? Shut the fuck up while someone makes a point.
Your points are horrible. I just gave you something, and you have no answer.
Evan, no, because you cut me off and just keep yelling like a child.
All you do is cut people off.
Okay, there you go again. That's the third time. Okay, we're going to start again. All right, is everybody ready? We're going to start again.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Hear it. Let's hear it, Jeff.
Kyrie Irving's
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
That's the fourth time you interrupted. You claim other people interrupt. You just did it four times.
Oh, my God. All you do is talk.
Evan Neal 5 times. Was Evan Neal good last year? No, he wasn't good last year, but I think you can learn a lesson from the same team in Andrew Thomas. Speedy was the first one to beat up Andrew Thomas. Oh, he's no good. Oh, he's no good. Andrew Thomas right now is quietly one of the better linemen in the league. Sometimes you got to give guys a little time to develop, bro.
That has nothing to do with last year and the numbers.
No,
it doesn't. You just said it. I just gave you a bad offensive line with a good running back and had no wide receivers and had honestly a crappy quarterback who everybody wanted out of New York. No, not anymore because of Saquon. Yeah, first of all, that conference is horrible. Let's be honest. That's why they made the playoffs.
They had 3 teams make the playoffs.
Yes, because everybody else sucks. That's right.
Right. So it's still the best division in that conference.
Oh my God. The NFC East is so good. Oh my God.
It's the best division in that conference.
And meanwhile, you can't stand the Cowboys.
Yeah, no, I don't like the Cowboys. It's not even so much the Cowboys. It's just really the beef. I hope you guys.
Oh my God.
It was the best division in the conference. You keep saying they suck, but they have 3 playoff teams. What other division had 3 playoff teams? I'll answer that for you. None.
And I'm going to answer for you. It doesn't really matter because if you look at the NFC and you look how bad the NFC is, it doesn't matter. They were horrible. And they're playing against one another and they all friggin' suck.
You can say they were horrible, but those are other professional teams out there. And you're totally missing the point.
No, I'm not.
Totally missing the point. They had 3 teams that made the playoffs. That just can't be because, everyone else sucked. There's 15 other teams in that, or 12 other teams in the conference, or whatever it is.
John says the offense got worse. John says the offense got worse, but the rankings and offense went up each year, and Dak had more yards and a better win-lose record. Again, that's also coaching.
Let me ask you a question.
Being held back by Jason Garrett.
Let me ask you a question,
First of all, the whole Dak argument that he's trying to make is fucking retarded. Because Dak Prescott historically beats up on crappy teams, right? Throws for 1 trillion yards against crappy teams, and then can't beat a team with a winning record. Do you remember the team he didn't beat a team with a winning record when the Bills went into Dallas and stomped?
Oh, that game was great on Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'm like, right. So like these idiots with their Dak Prescott numbers and numbers. Dude, he does it against the worst people on the planet, and he'll throw for 450. And then he'll throw for 150 against the Bills. And people will be like, well, combined, that's 700, right?
Technically, yeah.
Let me ask you a question.
But that's what they do, right? And they ignore the fact that he sucked a big bag of donkey dicks against a good team.
John says Dak beat the Eagles in December. Okay, they won 1 game. They won 1 good game with a winning record. That was a good game for him. That was a shootout. They did.
Yeah, they beat the Eagles in December when they decided to rest Jalen Hurts. Congratulations, Dak beat Gardner Minshew.
Yes, they did beat him in December. That was a shootout, so he had to play well in that game in order to do that too.
They rested all their players. They were the number 1 seed.
They didn't rest all, but no, they rested only some certain players. That was week 15.
It doesn't matter. Certain players. I don't know. They're resting their most important one, the quarterback.
Well, yeah, okay, I can give you that. I can give you that, but again, they also didn't win the game 16-13 either.
Right? Did the Cowboys win that game if they rested CeeDee Lamb? The best player on that team?
No, I'm not saying they do.
No, of course they don't. So again, idiot Cowboy fans are cherry picking lopsided matchups and they think they won something.
John is not a Cowboys fan, Jeff. I think he's a Patriot fan, if I remember correctly. Oh, now he says I think Dak is trash. So I guess he's agreeing with you on that.
This is why people that defend the Cowboys are the stupidest people on the planet. They're like, well, they beat the Eagles. Yeah, the Eagles played the popcorn machine, the hot dog vendor, the next
Jalen Hurts didn't play
in the stadium. That's what I'm saying. That's exactly the point. And he's running around telling, the Cowboys beat him. Fuck out of here.
And by the way, the Cowboys are losing the whole game all the way into the 4th quarter, okay, without Jalen Hurts. And they were down by I think 12 points before they came back in that game. So if I'm not mistaken. And they didn't even have their best player on the field. So
but people who defend the Cowboys, that's the great victory of the year. I'll give you a great victory. You want a great victory? Let's go back 3 years to the Meadowlands. You want to do that?
No.
Oh, the great Dallas Cowboys. Who beat them, Speedy?
The Jets. I know. You always bring up this game.
The Jets. And was the game close?
I think the Jets are 3-0 against the Cowboys the last 3 times.
Yeah, the last 3 are. Yep, they are.
Yeah, the Jets sucked that year. But, Dak Prescott.
Yeah, Sam Darnold was out with Bono, too. I think they won with a backup.
Yeah, it's these people that defend the Cowboys in their play. It's so pathetic, dude. Dak Prescott stinks.
John says the only reason that Dallas won that game because Dallas started running the ball and the Eagles couldn't stop the run to save their life. Well, again, they had to do it because the rest of the Eagles defense was a super strength too. They had the most sacks, I think, by any team in NFL history. And
how many of the defensive linemen were standing on the sidelines watching it? All of them?
Was Jordan Davis? That's the real question, John.
And going back to the NFC East, how bad they were. I mean, if you look at the schedule of the Cowboys last year, let's see. Tampa Bay, they really sucked. Cincinnati was good. The Giants, I think, overrated. Washington stinks. Los Angeles Rams stunk. The Eagles are good. Detroit was good. Chicago stinks. Green Bay stinks. All right. Minnesota, we all know they were up and down last year. Even though they had a 13-4 record, we know how bad they were. I mean, the record doesn't show how really they weren't overrated.
But this is what I'm saying. Even a team with a good record, you're just going to put a
No, I'm just saying.
They
The Giants, I'm going to go back. Then they had Indianapolis. They stunk. Houston stunk. Jacksonville was better. I think they got better at the end of the season, so I don't know if they were good at that time. Philadelphia, Tennessee stunk. Washington they stunk. Tampa Bay they again, and then they played San Francisco. If you look at their record and the talent that they played was garbage.
I said to you going into last year, I was like, wow, the Giants really have a shot to make the playoffs. And everyone was like, wow, you're crazy. I go, did you see their schedule? It looks pretty favorable. But again, you don't get to pick the schedule. Every year it's a crapshoot. You get what you get because it's just, you're going to play an NFC division and an AFC division, and it rotates when they're good and when they're bad. You still have to beat the teams that are in front of you. And by the way, good teams beat the teams that you should beat.
Jeff, you're looking at the season right now. Besides the Eagles, take the Bulldogs out, okay?
I don't have the schedule in front of me. I don't know where
I'm just asking you. You think the Giants are going to be good this year?
I think they'll be a playoff contender.
Yeah, because they're in the NFC conference. That's horrible. It's horrible. They're definitely going to be contenders.
There's some pretty good teams that should be there.
All right, let's see.
The Vikings should be there, right? The Vikings should be pretty good.
They don't have Dalvin Cook anymore because he's not coming back.
Right,
so good luck on that.
Madison was just as good when he filled in for him. I think you're underestimating Madison. Madison's pretty good.
Okay, go ahead.
I think the Lions. This could be
they'll be good. I like them. Yeah.
Right. I'm just trying to think division by division here. What's the South? The South is the
Atlanta
Bucks.
Saints. Yeah.
Yeah. The Bucks aren't going to be good.
No.
Atlanta probably not very good.
Baker might be losing his opportunity to be the starter. I've been reading.
He's not. Trust me. He's not. Have you seen Kyle Trask throw the football? I'd rather have the Beeve at quarterback.
Oh. Wow.
I mean, the 49ers, the Seahawks. I mean, a lot of people, the Saints.
The 49ers should be
I like the
pretty good.
Saints.
I'm curious to see what happens with the Rams, by the way. I know they weren't good last year, but they were missing their quarterback. And I think it's we can have this debate, but Cooper Kupp might be the best wide receiver in football.
You could argue that, yeah.
Right? So, and they were missing both of them last year. That was a big problem. I'm curious to see what the Rams look like.
Their offensive line stinks. They didn't add anything.
We'll see.
Okay.
Right, we'll see. We'll see how.
And they have Mike LaFleur as the offensive coordinator. Good luck on that one. Good luck.
Well, maybe he'll be better now that he's not in that cesspool in New York. But definitely the Seahawks, definitely the Niners, the Vikings, the Lions, the Eagles. Right? There's 5 good teams. I hate to do it. The Cowboys should probably be pretty good. Yeah. You got to respect Micah Parsons and that defense. Not Dak, but you got to respect the defense.
Well, he says it's the best team in the NFC. They might be a little delusional with that one.
Right. So they'll be in the mix for a playoff spot. I wouldn't count out the Commanders either.
No, I wouldn't either. With the enemy there, yeah, I could see that.
They don't have a quarterback.
Yeah, that's the only thing. They have the skill players.
I'm very
there.
surprised that Carson Wentz is still not signed with anybody. I'm very surprised.
It might be like what you were saying last year, though. Like he might not be a good teammate, and teams.
It doesn't matter. He's a good backup.
I don't know that they don't have a good quarterback, though. I actually think Sam Howell could be pretty good.
I have less optimism for that, but I just think the offense schematically is going to be a lot better because
they're saying Howell might not even win the job.
But yeah, they also got Jacoby Brissett, who played all right last year with Cleveland. So that's, I think, just capable enough with an Eric the enemy offense. It just depends on how healthy they are because they had a lot of injury issues with their offensive skill players too last year, especially with wide receivers. And again, their defense, it should be better on paper because it is good, but they've also had a lot of injury issues themselves too. That's why they had to decline Chase Young's 5th-year option. Like they can't trust it.
All right, so we've named 8 teams for 6 spots, right? Because it's really only 6, and I know that there's 7 spots, but someone has to win the South, so that'll eat a spot. right?
Yep.
So, and, I mean, I don't think anyone else in that division could make a wild card, but someone by default is going to win the division and take a playoff spot.
I think the Saints are going to be good. I really do. I think they have a good team defensively, and with Alvin Kamara,
You can't be good. You can't be. Oh, first of all, Kamara's getting suspended tomorrow
for 4 games,
and you can't be good. And you can't be good if you have Jameis Winston on your team. You can't be.
He's not your starter. Derek Carr is.
Doesn't matter.
And they got a lot of weapons. They got good wide receivers. They're going to be explosive and good tight ends. I think they're going, and their offensive line's pretty damn good. So I think the Saints are going to be a lot better than you think. I think they win the division with ease. I see a lot of people like the Falcons. I don't know
because they were a big offseason. That's why.
If you think
People like
Ritter,
the Falcons because they like Bijan Robinson, but I'm going to tell you the same thing I told you last year. I'm very unsure on Desmond Ritter.
Yeah. And they just don't have a lot of receiving depth, too, besides Drake London. Then I guess Patterson, if you're going to count him as a wide receiver. It's just,
and Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, and Pitts, if he does stay healthy, too, because he's had a lot of lingering injuries as well. But their defense, again, there's a lot of new improved talent on that team.
Jesse Bates, we know.
But is it all going to fit all at once, too? Usually it takes a year or so to get into it. That's why I don't know if they'll be better, but I don't know if they'll be a
going to hurt
winner.
the Bengals this year because they lost Eli Apple and they lost Bates. That's their secondary, and their secondary that played well.
Went to Carolina.
Yes, that's their secondary that played well throughout the playoffs, and really one of the reasons why they played as well as they did it going into Buffalo was their secondary. They shut down the offense, they shut down the wide receivers. So I don't know what they're going to be to this year, the Bengals. Yes, they have a prolific offense, they have a great quarterback and great wide receivers, but are they going to be able to stay in games against good offenses to get with good wide receivers and good quarterback play? I don't know. So
John said
a lot of questions that have to be answered.
Heard 49ers and Green Bay might sign Wentz for a backup.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
Cup is hurt again this week.
Why
yes.
would the 49ers? They got Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
They have, who else they have?
Trey Lance.
Trey Lance.
And Trey Lance, yeah.
Why would they bring in Carson Wentz?
Because they're going to, my guess would be, it's just a guess, dude. So I'm sure that I'm going to hear about this from you if it doesn't happen. But they may end up just cutting Trey Lance because he may not be worth carrying, and if they cut him now, they'll be able to stretch the salary cap hit, and it won't really hurt him next year.
I've been NFL Network. Steve Winch reports that San Francisco quarterback Trey Lance might be on a shaky ground after backup quarterback Brandon Allen's emergence. So.
Because they've been saying all along right now that Brock Purdy is the number one.
Mm-hmm.
Brock Purdy has supplanted Trey Lance as like their future quarterback. What's the point of keeping Trey Lance around? Like, get rid of him now and get rid of that salary cap hit. Like, take it on right now while you can afford it, and then that'll free up so much more money next year to re-sign dudes.
I'm interested to see Brock Purdy when everybody knows what what he did last year. I don't really think he's as good as everybody thinks he is. So, and I don't think he has the arm strength that everybody says he does. And I'm interested to see when he comes back in week 8 or week 9, whenever they say he's coming back, and he's going to put up the numbers that he did. If you look at the teams that he beat 2 over 500 teams out of the 8 or 9 games that he played. That's not. And teams that weren't very good defensively. So I think everybody needs to lay off or even stop bringing up Brock Purdy as much as everybody loved him last year. I did not love him, and I still think that he's highly overrated. So I'm very surprised that they're going to.
I think he's in a very solid position to succeed. We've talked about this before.
Yes.
The best quarterbacks in the league are the ones that play 4 years in college. Brock Purdy checks the box there. Right, he's played a lot of football, a lot of quality football at a cheating school, really. He was successful at a school that was trying to shave points, believe it or not, right? So there's that, if you look at the rest of that team, Ayuk, Jennings, Debo, Kittle, McCaffrey, dude, you could play quarterback on that team.
We're still waiting for Darrell Reid.
Yeah, he's having issues with his link.
Okay.
Name another team that has better weapons.
There he is.
I'm sorry, Jeff. What was the question?
Name another team that has better weapons than the 49ers.
Better offense or defense?
Offense. Clearly offense.
Who has better weapons than the... I mean, what do they have? They have Debo Samuel.
Ayuk, Kittle, Juwan Jennings, and
Ayuk,
Christian
Kittle,
McCaffrey.
Christian McCaffrey. Yeah, they're stacked everywhere, dude.
I have to think about it, but I'm sure there's a team that can match up for
If you have to think that hard about it, they're probably.
I think the only one that might be close is the Bengals, but I think the 49ers are still a little ahead just because the tight end.
I mean, the Jets have pretty good offensive players too. I mean, I'm not saying the Jets do, but I mean, if you look at the roster and the way it's, built, I think the Jets. You could say the Jets have a pretty good offense too. They have a ton of wide receivers.
They do have a good offense. They don't compare with San Francisco. Let's just say Garrett Wilson is the same as Debo. That's fine. You're telling me Breece Hall is Christian McCaffrey? You'd be wrong. You're telling me Corey Davis or Alan Lazard is Brandon Ayuk? You'd be wrong.
Brandon Ayuk.
The 49ers would be ahead of him.
All right, you like Brandon Ayuk, okay? I'm not a big Brandon Ayuk fan. As a matter of fact, I've had him on fantasy for the last 3 years. If you look at his numbers, they're not as good as you make him out to be. Now, Kittle. If Kittles could stay healthy, yes. I mean, the Jets don't have a tight end as good as him. But when you have 3 or 4, 2 or 3 guys that could do the same thing Kittle could do and actually stay on the field, and you have a quarterback that actually can get up the ball, we'll see how good Kittle is going to be without a quarterback this year.
So you're saying tight end by committee is just as good as one star person?
100%, yes.
Why won't you apply that same logic to running back?
What are you talking about?
You don't need to pay one running back. The 49ers decided to pay one tight end, and now you're complaining, sometimes he's not on the field. So you're better off doing what the Jets did and paying people less and then having a bunch of them.
Different positions and different...
No. It's the same thing. It's the exact same thing. You're better off having multiple running backs than one high-paid guy. If Derrick Henry gets hurt, what do the Titans do? What, is the beef toting the rock?
Jeff, we'll let you go. Call back later, all right?
Yeah, you don't like when people win an argument.
I don't have time to argue with this. This guy's an idiot. Okay? He sits there and argues his points. I flip it on him. Didn't he say, he mentioned about the running back and the quarterback and the offensive line, that I mentioned the Giants, and then he has another argument to it. So that's Jeff for you, ladies and gentlemen. Anyways, when we come back, we will be talking to former Colts, Broncos defensive lineman, our friend Darrell Reid, here on the Sports Loudmouths.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Hi, I'd like to report a bear hug.
Uh-huh, okay.
Well, we were building a bonfire, and I saw some, dry brush and leaves around, so, I said to move the bonfire somewhere else, and out of nowhere, Smokey Bear shows up and hugs me.
So you noticed some wildfire hazards and moved your bonfire to a safer location.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Smokey, all right. He likes it when people help prevent wildfires. It hits him close to home. Not everybody gets the hug, my friend. So that's pretty special to get a hug from Smokey Bear.
So it was him. Hey, guys, I told you it was Smokey.
Okay, well, congratulations, my friend. And thanks for calling. There are many ways to prevent a wildfire. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is the Sports Loudmouths.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. As you know, this is the Sports Loudmouths. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy Petey. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including the Sports Loudmouths. All you have to do is check us out on the menu bar, and you can see the Sports Loudmouths, which we air every single Wednesdays and Thursdays at 9 p.m. Speedy, put up the number so everybody can check out. And if anybody wants to call the show, as always, definitely reach out to us if you have any questions throughout social media and our phone number. As Speedy is supposed to be posting it up on our social media so everybody can interact with us if they want to call up, as we saw Jeff, the crazy lunatic, who called the show just a few minutes ago. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we finally have him on. We haven't seen him in a little bit of actually in a while, but we do have him. Are you bringing him in, Speedy? Is he coming in?
No, he's in. Darrell, you have to unmute yourself. He's just in on audio.
All right, that's fine. We are now talking to former Colts, Broncos defensive lineman Darrell Reid. Darrell, what's up, man?
What's going on? I'm trying to figure out, like, how can I get a Smokey the Bear sponsorship? You know, like, I'm trying to get some advertising money from Smokey the Bear. Do I go see Smokey in person, or how does that work?
That's a good question because, Smokey hasn't paid us in a couple of months. So.
Maybe you have to get some deals done, Darrell.
631-672-3108 is the number. We are talking to former Colts Broncos defensive lineman Darrell Reid. He's probably driving, ladies and gentlemen.
New Jersey Drive, baby. New Jersey Drive, baby.
New Jersey? What are you doing in New Jersey?
I'm on the Parkway, baby. I had to run some errands, some late night errands, and I'm on the Parkway, man. For the Jerseyans. I know some people from Jersey tuned in, so.
I'm going to tell you what you're doing. He's trying to drop the line for betting. He's a handicapper, ladies and gentlemen. He either went to Atlantic City or he went to MetLife Stadium to make his bets.
Better watch out, Darrell. If you want to make a comeback, you don't want to gamble because you might get suspended for the whole season.
Oh, man.
I don't know.
Jeff made some great counterpoints to his own counterpoints. I mean, he is a counter puncher if I've ever seen one.
Well, he counter punches, that's for sure. But when he does counter punch, he loses his mind when somebody throws him a curveball, Darrell. And I mentioned he was telling me about running backs and all this other stuff. You don't have to pay the running backs. And then I say, well, he says if you have double the running backs, if you don't have a good offensive line, you're not going to score. You're not going to be able to do that. And I flipped it on him. I said, well, what about the Giants? The Giants had one of the worst offensive lines in football. Saquon Barkley still put up the numbers. And Daniel Jones was being run out last year before Saquon Barkley had the season that he had. But he's the one getting paid, and Saquon isn't. So tell me that.
Yeah, no, it's a shame. How the NFL is doing the running backs right now. But are we hopeful that the Jets get Dalvin Cook or what? Is that the game plan?
I think, honestly, as a Jet fan, I want to see the youngsters. I want to see Bam again. I want to see Michael Carter. They drafted Israel. I want to see these guys play, and Breece Hall might not start the season in the first game, or maybe the second game he'll be back, or third game, whatever. Dalvin Cook, you're adding a guy that's going to demand the ball. He's going to want his touches, and it's going to take away touches from Breece Hall when he comes back. So I don't know if I'm willing to do that. I would save that money if the offensive line is not playing as well as they expect him to play in the preseason. If somebody gets let go, you pick up a good offensive lineman that could be a veteran offensive lineman that could be let go at the end of preseason, where you can add the additional help that you need to protect Aaron Rodgers. That's where I think the Jets should go.
Yeah, no, and to your point, I'm gonna kind of like go against your argument earlier, running back by committee or any position by committee over having a star player at that position. I mean, I don't know, unless it's like a committee position like O-line or D-line. Even those positions, you'd rather have a star than a group at anywhere on the field. I don't know. I mean, look at Travis Kelce in Kansas City. You can't give me three tight ends that can replace him, or I heard you say when Kittle's healthy, but it's hard to replace a star player with a committee of players. It's almost impossible.
Darrell, let me ask you a question. How many guys are as good as Travis Kelce at his position?
None. He's the best. What do you mean?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Exactly.
Maybe two. I mean, he's number one. He's also in the offense that draws things up in the sand for him. So I mean, he's also in the best offense he could be in. And with what is arguably the best quarterback in the NFL right now. So there are other factors that play into that, but I think the Jets
Darrell,
have good running backs outside, even if they don't get down. Back to that point.
I agree with you.
So, Darrell, I want to ask you about the most recent one, which was Jonathan Taylor, who said there was a back injury that was misdiagnosed. The reports or ESPN were wrong. And Jim Irsay was saying all his stupid things. How do you think that saga's going to end?
Well, I had some sources early on telling me some things about Jonathan Taylor that weren't the best. So I didn't know the fallout was going to end up like it is now. I knew there were some issues there that the public didn't know about. I mean, I'm a Colt, so I'm on the inside of the inside.
So you don't want to relay any of that information, do you?
You can admit it now if Jim Irsay's giving you some extra money.
Hey, listen, Darrell, that could put us right on top of here if you relay the information, man.
Well, we got to talk to Smokey the Bear. We got to get
I'm sure him and Jim Irsay are very close.
Numbers together. We got to get these numbers right. But no, yeah. So I mean, Jonathan Taylor, obviously very, very talented player, right? But I heard some things. I just heard some things. I got some sources, heard some things, and this was actually before the draft.
Wow.
And I was like, Jonathan? It's one of those things. You're like, even right now with everything that's happening in the headlines, right? You're like, Jonathan? Like, this is him? Like, or is this the real him? Is like, what's going on? So, he just doesn't seem like that type of person to be having any of these kind of issues with the organization. And I don't know many players that have had issues with Jim Irsay over the years. Mm-hmm. It's not like he's, one of those hard to deal with owners.
No, he likes to get screwed up like his players. He'll go out there, he'll pop a couple of Vicodins, drink a couple beers, and he's all good, man. He's happy-go-lucky.
I mean, right? Like they say, a player's coach, right? Like he's a player's owner, right? Like
no doubt.
He more advocates for the players. So you don't see. I can't think of many issues that players have had with Jim Irsay over the years. I mean, I just can't think of any. I don't know if you guys can.
Mm-mm.
Not directly with the players that we've heard. This, I think, is the first one that had that kind of stench with just the comments he made.
Yeah. You got that. But even when Peyton Manning's everything happened with Peyton at the end of his Colts career, you didn't hear anything publicly about him and Jim having any issues.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Even though he didn't get paid, that last year of his contract, he had the neck injury, all kinds of things that could have, caused a big rift. And I don't know. I don't feel good about that. I think that hurt Jonathan with other teams as well. That's the thing. You're dealing with the ownership fraternity, and all the coaches know each other, and it's like you don't want that. You don't want that persona surrounding you.
We are talking to former Colts and Broncos defensive lineman Darrell Reid, a friend of the show. We love him. Darrell, you played for another team in the Broncos, and
yes.
Sean Payton said some interesting things about Nathaniel Hackett and the New York Jets organization, which was uncalled for. This is something that you wouldn't expect Sean Payton to do, throw a team under the bus, throw a coach under the bus, when this is, they protect the coaches. Each coach protects his coach because they want them to get another job. But Sean Payton threw a guy like Nathaniel Hackett under the bus, and then you had Aaron Rodgers come out and say, "Keep my coach out of your mouth." And then you had Nathaniel Hackett coming out and say it was out of line, and obviously it made Sean Payton look insecure. So what were your thoughts when you heard Sean Payton said those things about Nathaniel Hackett and the New York Jets organization?
There's something more underlining that we don't know about. Because what would make him come out and say that, right? Like, what really is going on underneath the surface that we don't know about? What issues did they have? I mean, they should be friends, right? Like, in all actuality, they should be friends. So what happened? What went wrong? how did they kind of separate? What it's more to the story. Maybe it'll come out later, maybe it won't. But it's got to be more to the story for him to come out and say that, and he's got to be feeling real. It sounded like he might be hurt about something. Like, so you're trying to hurt, Nathaniel Hackett. So you're saying, you're publicly saying something about him because you're trying to hurt him or hurt his public image, So I think it came from a place of hurt, honestly.
But here's the argument here. If it's coming from a place of hurt, this is a guy that hasn't been a coach for 2 years. He took a step back. He tried to do the broadcasting thing, the television thing, and then you attack Nathaniel Hackett. And listen, I understand he's trying to protect his quarterback, Russell Wilson, who had a terrible year. A lot of people were taking shots at Russell Wilson at the end of the season that he lost something. He got paid a lot of money. He was traded for a lot. Seattle's laughing to the bank right now because it looks like they got the better of the trade. And now all of a sudden, Sean Payton, who, by the way, came out when he was over there with the Saints when they were talking about making a move for Russell Wilson, saying that he doesn't want to coach Russell Wilson, that he's not the style of quarterback he coaches. And now all of a sudden, he's over there with the Broncos and he's sticking up for the same Russell Wilson he said he doesn't want to coach.
He has to, right? He's in the situation he's in. And maybe Russell Wilson was dealing with some injuries last year. We don't know what was really going on.
Yeah, I think so.
And because he obviously didn't look the same. I mean, not like himself. So I think he's going to be a better player this year. But maybe I don't know. What style of quarterback? What's his style of quarterback? I mean, who was the backup quarterback down there?
Brett Rippon.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Like, you go from Drew Brees to come on. Like, what's your style? You can work with anything. You're Sean Payton, right? So I don't know. He's in that situation now, so he's got to defend Russell. He's got to defend Russell's season last year, right? And instead of putting it on Russell, he's like throwing it on everybody else.
Yeah,
maybe they should trade for Taysom Hill as the backup quarterback.
You know what we'll do? We'll attack Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. We play him week 5. It doesn't really matter. Nathaniel Hackett, what an idiot. So what do you think the Jets are going to do? They're going to put the Broncos on the board, and when they play in week 5, what do you think? They're going to put up a 45 spot and stick the ball down Sean Payton's throat.
Where's the game at? I'm going
Denver.
to
Denver.
I'm going to that game. I'm going to that game.
Oh, you better go to that game.
There's rumors they might flex it to primetime already.
You know what? I don't know if I can go to that game. That's going to be a rough game. And then if the Broncos, no, I don't know. Yeah.
I don't think you want to go there. Because Aaron Rodgers is going to go into this game and he's going to have a statement to make to Sean Payton. And I know Nathaniel Hackett is not going to sit there and say, you know what? We're up 30-10. We're just going to lay off on them. They're going to do everything they can to, drive up the score and shove it down Sean Payton's throat. And
so
you're
assuming the Broncos that the Jets are going to be up big in that game.
I do. I think
early?
the Jets
they're going to be big up early in Denver.
I don't know what the Jets are going to be, but my prediction is they're going to go hard at them. And they're going to make sure they put up big numbers against them, especially if they're the team and the prolific offense that they believe they're going to be. By week 5, they should be where they want to be. And they're lining up because after week 5, they're on a nice little vacation, right? They play the Giants in week
8.
So I'm sorry.
Yeah, right after their bye week.
So they have one more game, I think, after that. And then they're off week 7. So
they can put a lot of focus and energy into that game.
100%. And I know Nathaniel Hackett has got their name on that board. 100%. And I think Robert Saleh. Did you hear what Robert Saleh had to say? Pretty much telling Sean Payton, jealous people are jealous people.
I'm telling you, it's got to be coming from a place of hurt. Like, either he was surprised by the move or Nathaniel told him one thing and then did another. I think it's got to be something like that. He's got to feel like backstab something. What would make him come out and say that?
Drinking? I don't know. Maybe Russell Wilson and Ciara took him out to dinner.
Just make sure Future's not there.
Right. Oh gosh.
Well, if Future's there, he's obviously, you better be careful.
He's got to pick up the kid sometime. I mean, he's got to.
Speedy, I didn't even know you knew who Future was.
Yeah, one of our guests mentioned that Future was actually coincidentally in Denver even before Russell Wilson when he was playing there. I'm trying to remember who said that when he was briefly with Denver. Might have been Brandon Lloyd. I don't remember. One of the guys that we had on that played for the Broncos.
Oh, B. Lloyd, that's my bro.
I think so. It might have been him. I don't remember offhand, but one of the guests that we also had that played for the Broncos at some point was mentioning that like he saw Future there, like even before Russell Wilson was there, or like when he was playing.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he's a Broncos fan.
Yeah. So it's an odd coincidence. So he's a Broncos fan, but a fan of only 52 and 53 of the roster.
So are you guys waiting till after the preseason to set the over and under on the Jets season this year?
Yes.
Okay.
I have to, because we know that the Jets aren't going to start any of their starters in the Hall of Fame game tomorrow. They're going to play Mekhi Becton, I've heard. You'll see a little bit of Zach Wilson. You're not going to see anybody else in week one of the preseason. And I think Robert Saleh made it clear that he is not going to play any of the starters. So I don't know what they're going to be, but you will see Aaron Rodgers play at least the last game of the preseason. I think it's
third game.
Yes, against the Giants, I think it is. So, and they played the Giants in week 8.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
it's going to be vanilla. It's going to be vanilla then. It's going to be vanilla.
But guess what? I have a bet with Brandon Jacobs. So Brandon Jacobs made a bet with me on live radio, and he told me, he said, and Speedy, you have to reach out to them. He said that if the Jets have a better record than the Giants by whenever they play, which is going to be week 8, that he would take me and Speedy and his son, who's a 5-star recruit, out to dinner, to a steak dinner, whatever we want, and take us to the Giants and Jets game. And he said in week 8. So, and then I said,
hold on. Let me just get this straight.
Yes.
If the Jets have a better record, so going into week 8, you're either 4-4 or 5-3 or 6-2, 7-1.
And there's no ties to the Jets of the bye week. The Giants don't.
Yes.
Okay, but did you get clarification? Okay, so you're going into week 8. So it's 5-2, 4-3.
Yes.
So you can't have an even number.
No,
because the Giants having played 7 games, so the Giants could be 4-3, the Jets could be 4-2.
Whoever has the winning percentage record by the time they play.
Did you get a tiebreaker at least? Are you smart enough to get a tiebreaker?
There's no need for a tiebreaker because there's the same amount of games. Because let's say even the Giants tie and they're 3-3-1, and the Jets are 3-3, the Jets will still have a better winning.
No. What if both teams are 4-3 going into the game?
It can't be because the Jets have the bye week before that. That's what made it even better. So there's no tiebreaker.
Okay.
We probably would have just some point differential or something like that for that.
Got it. Okay, so the Jets have their bye week the week before.
This was before Aaron Rodgers, and he didn't know that Aaron Rodgers was going to be
in January.
But that's not my fault. I said anything could happen. He says I'm still going to make the bet, and then I said if the Giants have a better record than the Jets by week 8, I will take you, your son, and Speedy out to dinner, and I'm going to get great tickets, maybe even floor seats to the Giants and Jets game, so we can watch the Jets and Giants play. No matter how much they cost, I will buy them. Okay? And I told you.
You know what? That's actually a really good bet this year. Maybe for the first time in a while, where you can compare the Jets and the Giants possibly having both winning records. I mean, it's been years.
Well, yeah, it's going to be tough, though, for the Giants. I don't know if you've seen the schedule. They have 2 sets of back-to-back road games at the beginning of the season, so in the first 7 weeks, including against the Dolphins and the Bills.
And I don't trust the Giants' offensive line, and I don't know where their second option of offense is coming from. Is it going to come from Hyatt, who they drafted in the 3rd round? Is it going to come from Darren Waller, who can't stay healthy? Or is it coming back from, who's the kid
Hodgins,
that was Hodgins, who everybody, oh my God, did you watch him play throughout the second half? Like, give me a break. Nobody wanted him. That's why he was picked up. So give me a break. I mean, everybody knows who he is now. So what do you think they're going to do? Okay, so football, these coaches, these defensive coordinators they're not stupid. Okay.
Well, he's got some game breaker ability, so they can get him.
You
They can
have
get him
some
the ball.
game-breaking ability still, okay? Give me a break. I think Speedy has some game-breaking ability.
I wouldn't go that far.
Look at this skinny guy.
I
This
wouldn't go
guy's
that
not
far.
catching the ball.
No, don't worry. Don't worry, Darrell. It's not in football. I already announced at the beginning of the show that the New York Mets traded me to the Baltimore Orioles for Buck Showalter's wheelchair. So
He's like 130 pounds soaking wet, you know?
don't
They
worry,
won't even
I'll
see
take
him.
my 30-mile-an-hour eephus pitch.
Okay. Jet fans, is Aaron Rodgers going to stay healthy the whole season?
That will depend on their offensive line and if Dwayne Brown is really going to be as healthy as they believe he's going to be. Mekhi Becton, it seems like they're moving away from him, that he is going to lose the job. And he didn't,
Right.
he was fighting that he was going to get he wanted the left tackle. It looks like he's going to lose the right tackle, opportunity because Tucker, they brought him in from Green Bay. He
Right.
played very well in front of Aaron Rodgers to play the right tackle position or left tackle position over there in Green Bay at some points.
Yep.
And now the Jets have the money because Aaron Rodgers gave them the money. If it isn't Dalvin Cook,
Right.
whatever team is going to let go of their veteran tackle that they don't want to pay anymore, and they're trying to clear some space, what do you think the Jets are going to do? They're going to scoop them right up. So
Yeah, they should be able to scoop up some offensive linemen.
100%. And they have some
preseason.
good young offensive linemen too, Darrell. I mean, they drafted pretty well. They drafted the kid from Pittsburgh in the 4th round. Everybody thought was a 2nd round draft pick who they believe is their future right tackle. I mean, the Jets they added depth. And by the way, they're talking about because of the centers that they brought in, McGovern signed and they brought in another center. They're saying that the kid that they drafted in the 2nd round might not even be on the roster this year. They might sit him out and let him learn the offense before they put him out his 2nd year. So
really,
yeah, that's what they're saying. Schweizer, whatever his name is.
Joe Tittman.
No,
Joe Tittman's
I'm
the
talking
rookie.
about Schweizer.
Yeah, Wes Schweitzer was the center. Yep.
who they brought in,
From Atlanta,
who's a pretty good center. And they said that he could win the job or McGovern, and they're the ones that fighting for the center job. They're not even saying that Tittman's going to win the job.
So okay. So you don't think they'll move one of those guys to guard to
They don't have to. They have Elijah Vera Tucker, who's going to be an all-pro. He was arguably the best offensive lineman in football last year before he got hurt. As a matter of fact, he's the only offensive lineman last year that played 4 separate positions and didn't give up a sack. Okay. He's the only lineman in football that did that. And he played the left tackle, right tackle, and guard position. All right. And here's another thing. Then they have Lincoln Thompson, who had a bad year last year. He's going to be better because you know why? He's got a competent quarterback playing in front of him, actually can throw the ball.
And not Michael LaFleur coaching either.
I mean, come on, man. You got arguably 2 Pro Bowlers in the middle right there, and Elijah Vera Tucker and Lincoln Tomlinson. You have Dwayne Brown, who at his best, and even if he's not at his best, he's at 80%. He's a pretty good veteran left tackle. And then
he's a veteran. He's not at his peak of his
no question
anymore. So
he doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
You don't have to be.
Yeah.
You have Aaron Rodgers that can let go of the ball in 1.8 seconds. What more do you need? You have wide receivers that actually can catch the ball, and if you have
separate on a route.
Yes. So I mean, and they have good running backs. So what are they scared? And by the way, they have like 3 tight ends too that actually can catch the ball. And they're saying that Jeremy Rucker could win the starting job out of both tight ends. And that's crazy to say, a 4th round draft pick from Long Island. So what does that say, my friend?
Yeah. I mean, he's going to be a fan favorite. We know that. That's
100%. Sure. But it's so funny. We've been going back and forth about the Broncos and back and forth about the Colts. What is your 2 teams that you believe are going to surprise the world and go to the Super Bowl this year? And I don't say Kansas City because I'm tired of hearing that team.
Yeah.
Who's going to the Super Bowl?
Yes.
Oh,
your thoughts on that? Just a guess.
Okay. All right. So from the NFC, I like it's hard to argue with Philly. I mean, it's hard. It's really hard to argue against Philly.
Philadelphia Bulldogs. Just remember that.
They didn't lose a lot. They lost a couple pieces. They didn't lose a lot, but their core is still intact.
They didn't lose a lot. They just they gained the Bulldogs. I mean, that team, that whole defensive line is Bulldog mania right there.
Yeah. I think they lost. Didn't they lose one of those defensive backs?
Yeah, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson went to Detroit.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, he's a great player. Like, he was a great player for them. So but they didn't lose. Once again, their core is intact. I mean, their defense, their offense, they didn't. It's hard to argue against Philly, making it to the bowl this year. And I would love.
Go ahead, say it. Say it.
You don't know what I'm gonna say.
He's annoyed because our last two ex-players that we've had on picked the Chiefs, so now he doesn't want anyone to pick the Chiefs.
No, I don't. I mean, I don't know what they picked. I'm fortunately or unfortunately, I wasn't privy to those. Those opinions.
Oh, you didn't get your information leaked from Jim Irsay?
No. This is my own personal thoughts and things like that. I like Cincinnati.
Okay.
Interesting.
I like that's my dark horse out of the AFC.
I worry about their secondary. They lost a lot of secondary players. They lost 3 out of their 4 in the offseason. And
right.
What was their strength to their defense last year, especially in the playoffs? It was their secondary.
Well, they got those 2 guys on the edge.
Yes, they do.
On the D-line,
another one too, Miles Murphy.
Yeah, so they're still strong up front, but I agree with you that they lost something on the back end. We'll see how they replace that. I know they got some young players. We'll see how they replace that. But that offense, you got to remember, Chase was hurt half the season last year.
Yes, he was. Mm-hmm.
So a healthy Chase, going into the playoffs, is gonna. They're so dangerous on offense. I mean, and because of the same reason, I do like Miami, but I just feel like Cincinnati is a little stronger.
Ramsey's out until week 6, week 7,
and they replaced him with the great Eli Apple.
Your favorite guy. Take a bite out of the apple.
Right.
His mother does.
So Ramsey's out till 6 or 7.
They say 4 to 6 weeks, but it's more likely 6 now from what we're hearing.
Okay. Yeah.
And he won't be 100% because it's a meniscus injury. And remember, more than anybody, when you're playing on your turf, you're using a lot of your knees and your ankles.
It goes without saying. I mean, it's every step. He's a DB. I mean, so. But either way, the rehab, the level of rehab that the pros have at this point, when they come back, I mean, everybody plays with a little, banged up. I mean, by the middle end of the season, everybody's dealing with little nicks and injuries. So, he'll fit right in. And he's an all pro, so he'll be fine. He'll be fine.
So last time we had you on the show, we heard about the Peyton Manning Johnny Cash story. Do you have another good Peyton Manning story?
Oh boy, which one should I tell? I got to make sure I tell the stories that won't get me in trouble with Peyton. Right? So
don't worry, we're not FCC regulated. You're good.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, I didn't tell you guys about the one when I first started with the Colts.
I don't think so. You told us the Johnny Cash one.
Okay. All right. So this is a good safe one. I actually got 2. I got 2 for you guys.
All right.
One, well, I'll start with this one. One speaks on the preparation that Peyton put into at each and every game, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we played Cincinnati in the last preseason game every year, right? Back to Cincinnati, my dark horse. That was a segue. I brought up Cincinnati to go into this story. I mean, come on, you got to keep up. So, we played Cincinnati at last preseason game of every season, and we would drive from Indianapolis to Cincinnati. It's maybe like an hour and a half, 2 hour drive or whatever. So we wouldn't fly, we would drive. Peyton's going to play one series, okay? Not even a full drive. One series, which means If you get a first down, you're coming out. If we're punting, you're coming out. You're literally playing 3 plays. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So we're on our way to Cincinnati. We're on the bus. Guys are, telling stories, playing cards, the usual, right? Watching movies, whatever guys do. Peyton's on the bus watching film.
I think you told us the story.
I did tell you the story.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
I knew it. Damn it. Next story. All right.
I'm good. I remember your stories.
That's good. That's good. I wish you would have remembered before I started. My whole segue's ruined. Okay.
I'm sorry.
All right. So we'll go to the next one. So, for the people who didn't hear that story before, for the loudmouths, the fan base that didn't hear that, I'll finish the story for them. Forget about you. It's not about you all the time, right? So we're on the way to the preseason game. Peyton's playing 3 plays, literally 3 plays. It doesn't matter if he gets a first down, if we punt. He's not playing anymore. And where he's watching film on the way to the game. And I go up to him like, Peyton, why are you watching film? You're only playing 3 plays. Like, you watch film all week and you're still watching film he said, because for those 3 plays, whatever they do, I want to know. I want to know what they're going to do before they do it. All right. Now, next Peyton story.
I was like, I want to know what they do.
I mean, you took the air out of that.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry, Darrell.
No, it's okay. But okay. So my first week with the Colts, okay, and I was undrafted. I feel like I told this story too. I got to come up with some new stories for the loudmouth. I like gave you my whole bag. I didn't know you guys were ever gonna bring me back. So I spilled.
Oh, stop, Darrell. We told you we're gonna bring it. We'll bring it back again, okay? Well, how about this? You can help us host the next show. How's that?
Yeah,
maybe we'll have a Smokey the Bear cameo.
You know what? I'm gonna segue the segue. I'm gonna tell you a brand new story. Okay. Right. This is a Marvin Harrison story. Okay. And this is a story I just learned about a year ago. Okay, Marv told me this personally. So when Peyton got drafted, right? Everybody knows the story. Peyton led the league in interceptions his rookie year, right? He broke the league record. So Marvin had already been with the Colts for a few years. He was already all pro. He was there with Harbaugh, right? Already a great receiver. And what he told me is, he said, Peyton had a lot of pressure on him coming in to the NFL. He had a lot of pressure on him. So to alleviate some of the pressure off of him, what he would tell Peyton is, I don't care if it's your fault. I don't care if it's my fault. If you throw the ball in the air and something happens, I'm to blame. Blame me. Blame me. It's my fault. You can do no wrong. So he basically, for whatever interceptions Peyton threw, Marvin said it was his fault because he was the veteran. He was already the all-pro, and he was trying to take the pressure off of Peyton early on in his career.
So everybody knows Darrell Reid gave you information, and he's telling you the reason why Peyton Manning threw all those interceptions and broke a record was because of Marvin Harrison.
Even the half of the targets that weren't even targeted to Marvin Harrison. Somehow it's all Marvin Harrison's fault. There you go.
It's all his fault. It's Marvin's fault.
That's intended for Reggie Wade, not Marvin Harrison's fault.
Reggie wasn't there yet.
No, he wasn't.
There yet. No,
2 years later.
Yeah, Reggie wasn't there yet. So, and at that time, they didn't have as many weapons that they had as they had later on in the career. And Marvin was being doubled damn near every game at that point. I mean, he was the guy. You know, they had Marcus Pollard, but Marvin was the guy. He was already all pro. So, and he still had 100 catches every year. They could not.
Just so you knew, Darrell Reid, Mr. Darrell Reid, Speedy wasn't even. Well, he was just about thought of when that happened. So. he was an egg in his mom's, like, her caboose.
That's all right. Speedy is a sports connoisseur, so he's absorbed. He's watched film. He's researched the history of football baseball, hockey. What else, Speedy?
Well, don't worry, I've watched a lot more film than Kyler Murray has the last 2 years.
Well, whenever Kyler speaks, he talks in a third person. So I don't know if he's talking about himself or somebody else.
Gosh. So, who's he going to throw the ball to this year, though?
Speedy.
No, I already told you. I'm playing for the New York Mets as their 30-mile-an-hour eephus pitcher.
Here's my prediction. He doesn't even play this year.
Kyle Murray doesn't play this year.
Doesn't play this year. Nope.
Okay.
I don't think he plays this year. They're saying he won't be back until week 11, week 12. If they're out of the playoffs, why would he come back? I would sit him out. And then if they get the number 1 pick, they're going to draft Williams. So they're going to do the same thing. They're going to trade Kyler Murray away. Somebody's going to need a starting quarterback, maybe Atlanta. And they go after Caleb Williams, who's probably going to be the number 1 pick next year from USC.
And they'll get rid of their coach and pay $15 million a year to Lincoln Riley.
That's true too.
You know what I would do? I would trade my pick back and get 2 picks and get Marvin Harrison Jr.
Everybody keeps talking about Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean,
Oh my God.
That's what I heard from Ohio State.
Oh yeah.
What a phenom! I mean, what a phenom! He's the best. I mean, he's the best wide receiver in college. But his path and his projection, I'm interested to see what he does at the pro level. I mean, and he stayed his entire career, in college. So
he has to with the eligibility rules. Like if he declared this year, he couldn't. But if he declared this year, he would have been the first receiver off the board easily.
Okay, so he was only a sophomore, you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he was a junior.
No, he didn't play much his freshman year because Garrett Wilson, they're still there too with Najigba.
Right.
And they have the other kid too. I'm drawing a blank on his name too. They get the other big body.
From the Saints.
And Olave, but they have another one now too. That I'm drawing a blank on his name. So yeah, they've stockpiled a wide receiver.
They always are. Ohio State always has good wide receivers.
He never really played much his freshman year.
Okay, got it. That makes sense. That makes sense because I thought he could have left, but if it wasn't possible, he had to come back then.
Yeah, just eligibility rules.
So he's going to be a true junior, you're saying?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. And he's still going to be the top wide receiver.
Probably. He'll probably be the number 2, number 3 pick. That's where I think he'll go. Especially if he has a season like everybody is expecting him to have in Ohio State.
Yeah.
They're saying he's going to have like 14, 15 touchdowns. He's going to have over 1,200, 1,300 yards in the couple of games that he's going to play. So if he has if he has like a 200-yard game or 2 or 3 of them, like a lot of people predict, because their schedule is definitely winnable this year. I was looking at their schedule, and they should be a Final Four team this year.
They should. Just a matter of Ryan Day can actually coach.
What are you doing over there? You eating something over there? Did we lose him?
Who's that, me?
Yeah, there's a little static we heard.
What, are you dancing over there? You tap dancing?
Always, baby.
Now, you look like the type of dancer, man. You look like the type of dancer. You should come out for week 8. You should come out for week 8 with us and Brandon Jacobs after Brandon takes us out that nice dinner. Maybe he'll invite you and pay for your dinner too.
Yeah, I know Brandon. I know Brandon. And my college teammate actually transferred and ended up being his college teammate. So we've known each other for a long time.
Well, we want to get you on before the season starts. So.
Yeah, Brandon's a good guy though. Good guy. Yeah. We have a lot of mutual acquaintances and friends.
Look at you, man. You just missed the popularity.
This is you're saying the week 8 Jets
Giants.
Yeah. Giants play.
The
week
Giants,
8.
Right?
Week 8.
So is the dinner before the game or after the game?
Probably before the game.
Okay. Not the day of, obviously, maybe a day or 2 before.
No, I think we're going to go to day of. I think Brandon Brennan made it pretty clear because what Brandon's got to do is he's got to fly.
What
up to
time is
Georgia.
the game? Hold on. Does that even work?
I think the game will probably be pushed. Week 8. I don't know. What time is the game?
I think it was just a regular
1 o'clock
start. 1 o'clock.
So then we'll do it after the game.
Yeah, it's right as of right now a regular 1 o'clock start, and odds are they're not going to flex it.
No, they won't
8.
flex it in a weekend. So
not like the Jets and the Broncos in week 5.
So we'll probably do it that night, or maybe we'll do it Saturday night. Maybe it comes out for the weekend, but we'll find out how he wants to do it because if not, I'm going to be paying for dinner, so you can come anyways, and I'll be paying for your dinner. So it doesn't really matter. One of us is going to be paying big bucks. That's all I'm going to say. I hope it's him.
Now, no matter who pays, is it going to be the same restaurant, or are you going to drop it down?
I told Brandon, it doesn't matter. You pick the restaurant. If I lose, I will pay for it. And he says, "You sure you could afford it?" I said, "Don't worry about it. I got you."
We'll call Smokey the Bear, and we'll get it taken care of. Tell him don't worry about it.
His son's like a Buick, so he's going to be probably double. I mean, his son's like 6'6", 6'7".
What position does his son play?
Offensive tackle,
and he's
recruit.
He's a 5-star recruit, and like he was telling us the first when we had him on the show, not the last time, but the time before that, he was telling us like as a sophomore, he was already like 6'5" and almost 300 pounds, and now he's even bigger, like he's 315 and like 6'6".
Is he in he's in Jersey?
Georgia.
Oh, Georgia. Okay.
So he's going to fly up here for the game. And he already said he wants to go to the game anyways because he wants to see the Giants rip apart the Jets. But I said, it's not going to happen.
He's got to scout out his future teammates when he gets drafted by the Giants in 3 years.
I hope the Jets draft him.
Right. I was going to say, what if he goes to the Jets?
He hates the Jets, so it's so funny.
That was the other funny part. That second time, and I think that was the first time we had him on the video. He was actually in his other house because he moved in the span the 2 times we had him on. And at the end of the interview, he showed us one of his jerseys as well, the Super Bowl patches, and he was pointing at like, let me know when the Jets have one of those.
He's a prick, okay? I told him, I said, you are a real prick.
Well, I mean, hey, listen, if the Jets, this could, I don't know about going all the way to the bowl, but I could see them making it to the playoffs this year.
We could see. I mean, the Jets have the talent. They definitely have the talent to go all the way. We'll see if they can stay healthy and keep him healthy. If Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, it quite possibly could happen. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm not predicting until I get a chance to see this team play a significant amount of times to really tell me what this defense is from what they were last year, and they're much better. Let me tell you. And their offense.
I don't need to see anything from the defense, but the offense is where I need to see the steps forward. I need to see. I mean, obviously, when you bring in a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, with he's still got something left in the tank. He's going to elevate that offense not only on the field but off the field and in the locker room. I think that's the X factor. A lot of people don't really consider when they talk about veteran quarterbacks. That is what made Tampa Bay's offense. It's not just the weapons they brought in, but the fact that Tom Brady was having extra practices on top of practices. It's like, having these extra walkthroughs with the O-line and the running backs, and it's how he carried himself outside of the game, outside of practice, and demanding more from the players. So he elevated everybody. He elevated everybody's game.
Now he's attracting a lot of supermodels. And the Hertz commercial, which I love.
Oh gosh. It's just amazing like what society accepts now. Like 5-10 years ago, that would be like so taboo to have a commercial like that, right?
Yeah, but you know what? It's Tom Brady, so anything.
Yeah, it wouldn't matter who it was. Like you're divorced or whatever they are now, and then you do.
Darrell, he's making more money as an analyst than as a player. He's making more money in a 9-year span than he's ever made as a player, and he's never been a broadcaster in his life. I mean, if anybody can make a deal like that, it's Tom Brady. Because Drew Brees is complaining with NBC.
I mean, you know who made that deal for him, right?
Of course. Of course.
Listen,
I'm
I'm
going
gonna
because they still have Chris Collins.
Hopefully it wasn't Josh McDaniels.
That's my boy. Don't talk about Josh. That's my guy. That's my guy. Oh gosh, poor Josh.
He's your guy, all right. He's
That's
gonna
my
be back
guy.
with Billy. He's gonna.
That's my.
We'll
That's
create
my
a special
guy.
position just for him.
Gosh. Oh gosh.
We
So
love him, man.
you got the Chris Collins. You got all these quarterbacks. Troy Aikman. But I feel like Romo is really who did it for him.
Yeah.
Romo really kind of kicked the door in for you. For the quarterbacks, I mean, well, they've been doing it for a while, so I can't say Romo's the only one. But of this new era, Romo's kind of the young gun, and Troy Aikman before him, in my opinion.
Look, Romo actually won something. He won an Emmy. He didn't win a Super Bowl, but he won an Emmy.
He took a dig. He took a dig at broadcasting the Super Bowl. He's like, "Oh, if only I could have played in one of these."
And here's the best part: he'll go to the Hall of Fame as a broadcaster, not as a player.
Yep.
Oh gosh.
Hey, we like to have fun, Darrell.
Yes. So. No, I mean, it's true. I mean, I got my. I got some nice hits on Romo, so
I did get a couple hits on him too. So that's anyways, Darrell, we really appreciate all the time as always, and we're gonna get you on before the season. Maybe we'll have you help us host the show. That would be fun. Darrell Reid and the Loudmouths. I mean,
we gotta take a look at the schedules.
What was that?
We got to take a look at the schedules. What's the Jets schedule? How does that shake out at the beginning of the year? Let me. You got those schedules over there.
So they have the Buffalo Bills in week 1. That's a
Monday
night football on 9/11. Then they got the Cowboys. They got the Patriots, and then the Chiefs week 4. That's I think one of the Sunday night games, I believe. And then they got the aforementioned Sean Payton versus Nathaniel Hackett and Aaron Rodgers Bowl in week 5 in Denver. Then they have the Eagles in week 6 at home. Then the bye week. Then the aforementioned Jets Giants week 8. Chargers at the Jets week 9. Jets versus Josh McDaniels and the Raiders week 10. Then they go to Buffalo, home to Miami, home to Atlanta, home to the Texans, at the Dolphins, home to the Commanders, at the Browns, and at the Patriots in the year.
Wow, I just saw 8-8.
Well, I'm going to tell you, you're really hurting my feelings.
I just looked at that, just a quick glance. First game of the season. I don't see them beating the Bills. I'm sorry.
First of all, you do realize they beat the Bills with Zach Wilson last year.
Yeah. What, the first game, right? The first time they played.
Yes, it was the first time, and the second time they could have won again if Mike White didn't get hurt. So
yeah, that is
I don't know if it's a shoo-in that Buffalo's going to win.
Yeah, you know what? Buffalo has trouble with the Jets. Maybe they overlook them. Okay, Patriots. That's tough.
And then they got the Cowboys, but with the Jets are 3-0 against the Cowboys in the last three times they've played them.
Yeah, you see, I skipped right over that. I went straight to the Patriots. Straight to the Patriots and the Chiefs. Those are two tough ones. The Eagles, we know that how that's
the same. This is the same Patriots team that, they were back and forth with the Jets. Both of them couldn't score in the final game of the season, and the Jets could have won the first game if Franklin Myers decided to not go off sides or whatever the hell he did.
Roughing the passer.
Roughing the passer. The Jets probably win that game. So, I mean, I think the Jets are better than the Patriots.
Okay. Chiefs?
The Chiefs game is interesting because it is going to be at MetLife, and it is going to be a primetime Sunday night game, which will probably be cold. And I think Aaron Rodgers being in front of the fans, I think the Jets could make a statement.
You like Aaron Rodgers in prime time. I hear.
I do.
I like. Okay. Broncos. We know that's going to be a.
There are people that think the Jets could go 6-0. I was looking at NFL Network and ESPN. One guy I think in ESPN had the Jets winning 12 games. And
hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're not going to beat the Eagles week 6.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. The Jets have never beaten the Eagles. Never beaten the Eagles. So it's going to be on the Jets board. Let's make them. Let's give them the first loss in franchise history. I'm telling you, they're going to have these things on the board. Robert Saleh is going to have it on the board. We've never.
Listen, I don't care what board. What board they draw that up on. This is not the year. This is not the year to break that omen. Unfortunately for the Jets, but so I'll give you 5-1, 4-2, 5-1.
5-1, and you think they're going to be 8-8? What are you, nuts?
He's going for similar collapses last year.
No, well, I'm giving you the Bills. I'm giving you the Patriots. I didn't give you those when I first did my assessment.
Oh, okay.
All right, so I'm leaning your way. I'm just I'm not.
It's not even my way. I think I predicted that with Aaron Rodgers they'll win 10 or 11 games. I think because they won 7 games with bad quarterback play with their defense last year, they're going to win 3 or 4 more, even with the schedule they have it, because Aaron Rodgers can make them 3 or 4 wins better, and I think that'll give the Jets 11 wins. They should make the playoffs on 11 wins, even with a good AFC, because they're going to beat the hell out of each other. The AFC,
right, of course. So I don't see them beating the Eagles. The Giants, I think that's a winnable game. Chargers, they can win that. Raiders, poor Josh McDaniels. I think they'll split with the Bills. They'll win one, they'll lose one, right?
I think so too.
I think they'll split with the Dolphins.
I think so too.
Falcons, they can beat them, but Falcons are beatable.
Mm-hmm.
Texans are beatable.
Mm-hmm.
Dolphins, we already talked about. The Commanders is a toss-up.
Mm-hmm. Who's a quarterback?
You would hope they'll know by week 16.
Sam Howell?
Yeah, that's true. They got weapons, but they got nobody to give them the ball.
That sounds like the Jets.
Now the Browns is actually a very, very intriguing team this year.
I think so too.
Very intriguing. They can run the ball. They got weapons all over. Quarterback is going to have his first full year, right?
Yes, he will.
Hopefully
he stays away from the massaging.
He's a phenomenal. Hey, listen, he played well with the massages, so I don't know.
Just make sure that he's doing in league. The authorities of the league, make sure he doesn't do it inside the stadium. Do it outside the stadium.
Exactly.
You could do it. Do it in the bathroom. You're good.
Yeah. And they got to go to Cleveland, so they're going to be in the dog pound.
Yeah.
They might lose that game. It's late in the season. Cleveland's got a really good run game, and then the Patriots. I think they'll split with the Patriots.
I think they sweep the Patriots this year.
Okay. All right.
I think they sweep the Patriots this year. I think they're going to make a statement to the Patriots this year.
Okay. So where's that? That leaves them at what, 11-5?
I think that's what the Jets are going to be. I think they'll surprise and win 12 games, but I think between 10 and 11 wins, they'll get them into the playoffs, and they might make a run, because if they figure things out at the end of the season and this offense starts to boom, and if this defense is healthy, they have so many defensive weapons. I mean, they added Woods and Jeffries. I mean, they have McDonald, who they love. Johnson, they're saying, is going to be beastly this year. You have Quinnen Williams. You have Carl Lawson, C.J. Mosley. I mean, they added Smash Amos. I mean, this is a good defense, a defense that could absolutely cause terror to the league. So I think they're going to be explosive. I think it's going to be fun. But before we let you go, we do this thing called Bracket Wars, okay? And I'd like you to stay on, and I want you to be our final pick. We're going to go over. So this is the battle of the New York market, the era of great players of all time in this era. And we're up to the matchups today. The number 16 seed, Kevin Mawai, against the number 1 seed, Mariano Rivera, and the number 13 seed, Rod Gilbert, who's a Ranger, if you don't know.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, you do. Look at you. And
yeah. I mean, I went to school in Minnesota, and the hockey boys live next door to me. So I got a bunch of hockey players that I'm really close with, like Thomas Vanek, and
Thomas Vanek, he played for the Islanders. Look at you.
Yeah. That TV, that's my guy.
TV.
Thomas Vanek unfortunately did not make this bracket, though.
And no, he's definitely not on the bracket.
No,
and the number 4 seed, Tom Seaver. So we're going to go over it, and then you can pick one or the other, and you will be our final vote.
The 4 seed Tom Seaver, that's the pitcher?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
All right. Here we go.
Just want to make sure I'm not.
It's time for bracket. It's time for bracket wars.
All right, Speedy. Which one are we going first?
All right, let's go with the Mawai and Rivera one first.
The number 16 seed, Kevin Mawai. In 16 NFL seasons, Mawai played 241 games, 10th most in NFL history for offensive linemen, 3rd most in NFL history by centers. Mawai was an 8-time Pro Bowl player, a 3-time first-team All-Pro player, a 4-time second-team All-Pro player, and a member of the 2000 All-Decade team. In 16 NFL seasons, Mawai only committed 39 total penalties, 6 false starts in his career. Mawai blocked for a 1,000-yard rusher in 13 of 16 NFL seasons, including Curtis Martin 7 times and Chris Johnson 2,000-yard season in 2009. I think Mawai is one of the most underrated centers of all time. He's one of only, I think, 3 centers to go to the Hall of Fame, and just really was a big part of that amazing line that the Jets had for a couple of years with Curtis Martin.
Yeah, and you also look at like all-time ranking for longevity too, and a lot of these centers don't play even long. You look at somebody like Mike Webster, unfortunately, what's happening to him with all the CTE stuff, one of the best centers in the league, but still had those issues. Like, they don't have the longevity all the time. There's not many of them, and like you said, probably I think only like 5 in the Hall of Fame altogether. And with the Titans too, even at the end of his career when I was watching him, he still looked like he was a top-notch lineman.
He was
certainly top notch. I played with him. I played against him when he was in Tennessee. He was still playing at a very high level, anchored that offensive line with Chris Johnson. I mean, and they really, Lindell White was part of that running back committee. They really did. I mean, he was there with Eddie George, so he's definitely certainly very, very good, very underrated. That's a very good term for him. Underrated offensive lineman.
The number 1 seed, Mariano Rivera. Rivera had 652 saves, most in MLB history, by 51 saves over the next highest, Trevor Hoffman. Rivera is an all-time leader in total games finished with 952 and is an all-time leader in ERA plus at 205 among both starters and relievers. Rivera was a 13-time All-Star, a 5-time reliever of the year, and won both the ALCS MVP and the World Series MVP as part of the 5 Yankees championships. Despite never winning a Cy Young, he finished in top 5 voting 5 times during his career. And by the way, they made the reliever award for the American League after Mariano Rivera. I think he's the greatest reliever. I think he's one of the top 10 greatest pitchers to ever play the game, and he beat you with 1 pitch. That's how dominant he was, and it wasn't – you knew what he was going to pitch. You couldn't hit it anyways, and that's what made him so fantastic. When you want to talk about quarterbacks, this guy, every time he was in, he was almost a sure thing. Go look at his ERA as a playoff pitcher. I think it was under 1. I think his whip was under 1 in the playoffs. And he was an unbelievable pitcher. And like I said, top 10 greatest pitchers, even as a reliever of all time.
Yeah, like you said, the single greatest pitch of all time. That cutter, it moved in so many different directions. It's all types of hitters.
Changed baseball.
Yeah, you couldn't go lefty, righty, like strategic matchups with it either, too. You just had to hope to hit it and guess it and just hope for the best. And the stat you were saying about the ERA plus, for those of you who don't know the sabermetrics, that adjusts to the other players' ballparks, too. So he's already pitching at Yankee Stadium, which is hard enough to do and have that kind of ERA plus, which is league average about 100. So having 205, yeah, that's pretty insane.
It's ridiculous. So who do you have, my friend?
I got Rivera, obviously. Sorry to Kevin Mawai. He's a great player, but it's tough to go against the greatest closer of all time.
Darrell, who do you have?
Listen, they don't call him the Sandman for no reason. Put the women and children to bed. Put Kevin Mawai to bed. It's over.
He's got Mariano Rivera. I've got Mariano Rivera. So 3-0. I mean, we could post it up on social media, Speedy. see what everybody has and who they think. I think everybody's going to go with obviously Mariano Rivera, but we could be wrong. We were wrong plenty of times with some of the picks. I mean, some of the craziness. I have no idea. They picked, listen to this. What was it? Deion Sanders?
Deion Sanders and Michael Jordan.
They took Deion Sanders over Michael Jordan. I mean, I can't believe
What was the category?
Greatest athlete, just any sport.
Any sport, the greatest athlete of all time.
Well, I mean, athlete, it's hard to argue against that. It's like Bo and Deion, you know, like that's the argument, really. Athlete.
Well, that was factored in, like sheer athleticism. It's just a tough competition versus like the quality of the sport versus an individual sport. Like we had like Mike Tyson and a lot of tennis players in there too. Mm-hmm. So like it was like all those factors were built into this.
Yeah, because Deion played both sports at a high level.
Right.
You know, Michael played basketball at a high level. Baseball, not so much.
Yeah, well, Michael Jordan just wanted to play baseball to satisfy his father who passed away. So
Right.
Number 13 seed, Rod Gilbert. Gilbert had 406 goals, 615 assists, and 1,021 total points in 18 NHL seasons. Gilbert averaged over a point per game in 8 of his 18 seasons in the NHL. In 79 playoff games and 10 playoff seasons, Gilbert had 34 goals, 33 assists, and 77 points. Gilbert is the Rangers' all-time leader in goals and points, and was a first player to have his number retired in Madison Square Garden. Honestly, I know a lot of people look at this, and I love Rod. I met Rod years and years ago. I don't think he's the greatest Ranger of all time. I don't even think he's a top 5 Ranger of all time. But yes, he does lead the Rangers in goals and points. So that's sensational. And he was the first.
I'm so surprised to hear that stat. Like when you think of all the great Rangers and he's, I mean, listen, men lie, women lie, numbers don't. That's gonna weigh on my pick here.
Who is the real liar in this Rod Gilbert thing? But yeah, you're right, Darrell, because also a lot of the Rangers they bring in is big trades or big free agents too. Like a lot of it isn't homegrown, so you don't have a player like Gilbert that's played that long either. We had Mark Messier earlier as a 2 seed who played for 10 years, but even he wasn't an original Ranger. He was an Oiler.
May you rest in peace, by the way, Rod Gilbert.
Yes.
He passed away last year. He was very good friends with Ashley Sarge, so
right.
May you rest in peace. But number 4 seed, Tom Seaver, may he rest in peace as well. Yes. Seaver pitched 20 MLB seasons and had 4,783 innings pitched and had an ERA of 2.86, a whip of 1.12, and 231 complete games. 231 complete games and 3,640 strikeouts in his career. Seaver was a 12-time All-Star, won 3 Cy Young Awards in his career, and led the MLB in ERA 3 times. In 8 postseason starts with the Mets, Seaver had a 2.77 ERA, a 1.08 whip, and 51 strikeouts, including pitching all 10 innings in Game 4 in 1969's World Series and allowing just 1 run. Seaver is the Mets' single-season leader and all-time leader in games started, wins, complete games, shutouts, and strikeouts. And here's the number that really stands out that people don't understand. And I will say this nice and easy for all of you guys to understand this because maybe you don't, all right? And I'm going to go back to this number, 231 complete games. That number, I will guarantee you, he has more complete games than the New York Mets do as an organization as a whole. I guarantee you he does. So there you go. That's a number.
231 complete games. That's going to be more than entire Major League Baseball combined for the next 15 years. I think there's only like probably 20 this year. Just that's even like pushing it to some extent. There were some guys that have been pulled with the no-hitters this year. We've seen so many combined no-hitters. But you talk about a franchise-changing player too. Look how bad the Mets were the first 6 years of their existence. So they were the Major League record for the shorter season when they only played 154 games for most losses in a season, worst winning percentage, 40 win season. And they really could not get anything going. I think their first winning season was 67 or something like that, where they barely were over 500. But Tom Seaver, amidst all that, was still pitching great. 69, the upset of the Miracle Mets over the Orioles too, and him and Jerry Koosman, they really put it together. But Seaver put it on his whole career.
And here's the crazy thing, ladies and gentlemen, they had Nolan Ryan on that roster
as a rookie. Wow. He wouldn't have a ring if it wasn't for the Mets. Think about that.
That's crazy.
And he wasn't even that good with the Mets, but he wouldn't have a World Series championship if he didn't play for the Mets.
There you go. What do you think about that, my friend?
You know, this is a tough one. I'm actually like looking up Rod Gobert. I'm trying to figure out how I can make an argument for him, you know, and he's got a tough matchup here. He's got a tough matchup. You know, I'm sorry, Mr. Ranger. Rest in peace. Well, you know, both of them, but
they're both rest in peace.
Yeah.
One drank too much wine, the other one smoked too many cigarettes.
281 complete games. Is that what you said?
231 complete
231.
Games.
231. Yes. I mean, can't compete with that. You know,
no,
you can't compete with that.
That's a number that really stands. I'm telling you, the Mets don't have 231 complete games without him. I mean, it's ridiculous how many games he has. It's that's the absurd number. I mean, the 3,640 strikeouts, yes. 4,783 innings, awesome. 2.86 ERA, great. WHIP 1.12. Here, 231 complete games. Done, sealed, delivered, game over. That's all I'm going to say.
How many pitchers in the modern era have that? I think all the guys that have like over 500 complete games are all dead ball era. And I think the only ones that have more than Seaver in this era, I think, are like Bob Gibson and Sandy Koufax.
Wow. Yeah, and I'm trying to figure out how I can vote for Mr. Ranger. I'm just trying to figure it out, but I don't think it's going to happen as hard as I'm trying. I mean, he went into the Hockey Hall of Fame the year I was born. I'm going for Mr. Ranger. That's it.
I got Tom Seaver.
I unfortunately can't go with Mr. Ranger, Darrell. As much as I am a Ranger fan and a Met fan, so I would want to go with the upset, but it's hard to pick up against Seaver, and especially a pitching heavy era. So.
Before we let you go and before we end the show, and I will talk a little bit more about this. Did you watch the Terence Crawford Errol Spence fight the other day?
Oh my gosh! First off, going into complete honesty here. I had Crawford winning that fight, going into the fight, okay? Only because if you look at the history of Crawford, I thought the fight was going to be closer, number one. But anytime he ever got hurt or close to hurt or hit, it made him stronger. If you go back and look at any fights that he's had, anytime it looked like he got hurt or it looked like somebody got a clean shot on him, it's like it woke him up. Like you wake up the beast. And I think maybe that's what happened early, but this was such a dominant performance throughout the fight. It's hard to even say that. I think Errol Spence, his game plan either was wrong or it went wrong, because for him to be that aggressive as the bigger fighter with the better reach, he could have sat back a little more. And he was the aggressor, and because of that, it cost him. And he was the taller fighter. Like, he's the taller fighter with the better reach advantage. Why are you making yourself smaller for Crawford to be able to get a lot of clean shots to your neck, to your temple, to your and basically ring your bell the whole fight, you know?
Here's the number that really stood out. Terence Crawford landed 58% of his power punches. And no fighter in the modern era has ever landed 58% of his power punches and knocked out a top-ranked fighter in 9 rounds. Okay? That's the number that really sticks out. He completely dominated the fight. It wasn't even close. And I was shocked because I said bet the boat on Errol Spence. I really did. But here's the thing that really stood out to me. after the fight, and I don't think Errol Spence is making any excuses, and I think he wants a rematch, but I don't know if it's going to happen. I think Errol Spence was never 100% healthy after he had that orbital problem when his career could have ended. He fought fighters that were good, but not at the top, top of the list, like Terence Crawford.
It was more than that as well, because you have to remember he came down to that weight class.
Mm-hmm.
He had to lose. He lost what 10, 15 pounds to get down to that weight class. So he looked like he wasn't as strong. I mean, usually when the guy comes down to a lower weight class, he's the dominant fighter. He's the more powerful fighter.
Yeah.
So I think Errol Spence didn't even have as much power or going into that fight as he normally would. If they fought at a higher weight class, I think Errol Spence might have a better chance. But at that lower weight class, that's where Crawford fights. I mean, he's comfortable there, where Errol Spence had to cut the weight, then try to rejuvenate, and regenerate before the fight. And I don't think he looked like himself.
And now they're talking about matching him up against Canelo Alvarez, who's a heavier fighter, and I think Errol Spence is way out of his league with Canelo Alvarez. Even though I think Canelo Alvarez is falling off, I just don't think Canelo Alvarez walks around at 180, 190. And he cuts down to even 154 or 160. It's still going to be hard for Errol Spence to compete against the power of Canelo Alvarez. So I understand what his team is trying to do. I understand what he's trying to sell. And I love Errol Spence. He's a Long Island native. He moved to Texas. I think people forget they say he's Texas born. He's not. He's Long Island born, and he's from Long Island. I root for him, and I think he's a sensational boxer. He just got demolished by Terence Crawford, and well deserved. Terence Crawford deserves to be treated as a champion. I think people forget how great of a fighter he is, and I was shocked. And I told everybody to bet the boat, so people lost a lot of money, and I want to apologize to all the fans. I know my boxing, I know mixed martial arts. I'm not always right. Okay. So
I wasn't privy to that conversation. I would have argued against that.
Yeah. I know it, Darrell. You like to argue. I know.
Me and Brandon Jacobs would have been on the same side.
Tell Brandon, he's being a prick to me, but that's okay. After he takes me out to dinner and.
Now you and Brandon didn't talk about the Spence, the Errol Spence Crawford fight.
No, the last time he was on the show was about 6 months ago.
6 months ago.
Okay.
We give Brandon his we give him his space because Brandon comes on, he makes sure that he spreads out the hatred of the New York Jets and the Cowboys. He can't, but he said he hates the Cowboys more than he hates the Jets.
Yep. Well, clearly.
Yeah. So
that makes sense.
He hates the Cowboy fans, and he actually likes the Philadelphia Eagle fans. Crazy to say that.
Yeah. I could see that.
But
he respects them.
Yeah, well, you know what I respect? I don't respect the fans eating horse crap, okay, after they win a Super Bowl. All right, that's just absolutely disgusting. But,
we actually had about a month ago, we had ex-running back who's actually a free agent right now. He's still playing, Kenyon Barner, who played for the Eagles briefly on the Super Bowl team. Errol was saying that to him, and he never even realized they did that, and he was on that team, and he was so grossed out.
He wanted to throw up.
Yeah.
No, that's out of control. It's a little bit too far.
Yeah, well,
a little bit too happy, little bit too much alcohol there.
Yeah, you know what, Darrell? We all know Peyton Manning knows a lot about that alcohol. Okay,
I wouldn't know that. I'm not privy to telling those stories on this program. So we'll save those for the book.
Okay, you do that. We'll talk to you soon, my friend.
All right.
Great talking all the time.
For sure.
You're the man. We really appreciate you.
No, I appreciate you having me on.
Every time, man. And I told you, we'll get you on the show. You can help us host the show.
And I'm telling news stories next time. And if I tell an old one, act like it's new.
I'm doing it, man. What do you want me to do? Pull up my Pampers? Jesus.
Listen, I hope the Jets, go 8-8 or
sure
10-6 or whatever your dreams are for them.
My dreams are an 8-8, buddy.
What was the Jets record last year?
The Broncos
what was the Jets record last year?
7-10.
8-8 is an improvement.
Not Darrell Rodgers.
That would be a one-game drop-off.
What was?
Aaron Rodgers.
Well, hold on. What was Green Bay's record last year?
9-8, but 8-8 with Aaron Rodgers because 9-7 with Aaron Rodgers because Jordan Love lost one.
And
game.
he was playing with a broken thumb. He led the NFC with 27 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. And people said that he wasn't the same player. He's taking steps back. And I said, yeah, try throwing a football with a broken thumb with his throwing hand, okay? And he still threw 27 touchdowns. That's ridiculous.
I mean, the Jets absolutely got a freaking gift when they got Aaron Rodgers.
I agree with you.
And he loves. He can handle the market. Like Jets fans aren't going to rattle him. The media's not going to. He could give two shits. Like he can handle this market. Like even though he's coming from a small market, his personality is one that can handle this market and win it over. So
I agree with you, Darrell.
Yeah.
We love you, man.
I'm looking forward to that this year, actually, for the first time in a long time.
Look at him. He's becoming a Jet fan. Yes.
Joe Klecko goes into the hall, and the Jets have a winning record. I mean, we are going to have a year this year.
Look at him. He's even calling us we. I love it. I'm loving it. I'll tell you what. I'm going to buy it. You could come with us with Brandon. I'm going to buy you a Darrell Reid jersey with the Jets with your number on it.
No. No, I already have a jersey request.
Okay. What is it?
Because he wears my number.
Let's hear it.
I'm gonna let you figure it out. Do you know what number I wore when I played? Come on, Speedy.
Come on, Speedy. You know.
Ooh, what number you wore?
Think about the highlights. You've seen some plays of mine. What number? Can you remember?
Was it 95?
Who wears 95 for the Jets?
Quinnen Williams.
Quinnen Williams. Since his rookie year, I said he's going to be a freak. Since the first game I saw him play, I said this kid's going to be a star.
I'll buy you a Quinnen Williams jersey.
I like Quinnen Williams.
All right,
he's arguably my favorite player.
What size are you?
Quinnen Williams size. No.
Just hope it's not Mekhi Becton size. You'll be good.
Quinnen Williams
size Q dog.
All right. I'll see if they sell a size for you.
Yeah. No, but since his very early in his rookie season, a lot of my buddies are Jets fans, and so I told them, I said, listen, not only because he's wearing my number, but I said this kid's gonna be really good.
And boy, is he ever.
It's funny, Darrell, because I'm a Giants fan. Errol's a Jets fan. I was higher on Quinnen as a prospect than Errol was at the time when the Jets drafted him.
Yeah. A lot of people didn't really. He was really young, he really got that baby face, but
he still had his braces on.
Yeah, but he was so talented.
And just remember, I'm your elder because I am a couple months older than you. You were born.
Oh my God, this guy's
June
on like
1982.
He's like Wikipedia right now. So,
I am in Wikipedia.
Darrell, for Errol's standards, that makes you a kid because everyone younger than him is a kid.
Oh, that's why he said it, because I said that kid, Quinnen Williams.
That's right.
Yep, it doesn't matter how much younger than him you are. As long as you're younger, you're a kid.
What am I, a few months behind you?
You're a couple months, man. I'm born April 29th. You're born June 20th.
Wow.
1982, baby.
Pretty
Best
close.
year of the world.
Yes, it was. Yes. But I was born on Father's Day, 1982.
Okay,
Yes.
and I was born on crap day.
The day dirt was invented.
That's right. I'm as old as dirt.
Because dirt was invented in 1982.
That's right. On my birthday. Oh, man. Right out of my mom's, you know what.
And spread out to the rest of the world.
Oh, my mom's going to kill me. All right, Darrell.
All right.
We love you, man.
It's great talking to you guys. Looking forward to doing it again.
Absolutely. Darrell Reid, ladies and gentlemen. Ex-defensive lineman for the Colts, the Broncos. Sensational person. He really is.
Yes. And he stayed on for about an hour, too. We always love the personality, too, Darrell. And we definitely will make sure that we don't repeat the same stories either.
100%. We will try to stay away from the repeated stories. But Thank you to Darrell Reid. Thank you to Pat Ragazzo, who was fantastic, for Mets Sports Illustrated Fan Nation Mets beat writer and reporter. Fantastic. He was great. And Darrell Reid, of course. We love Darrell. And he stayed on for a quarter of the show. Yeah. A quarter of the show, gave us his thoughts. An hour and a half, actually.
Oh, wow. It's already 12:30. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So Darrell is he's a good personality. He's got great knowledge. And listen, great person. He really is. And just the way he brings out his personality and his comedy and his, it's funny. It really is. And we really appreciate everything as he gives us all the time. And he was driving through New Jersey while he was doing it. So.
Darrell mentioned in our private chat, every great storyteller repeats their stories.
That's true. He's right about that. I mean, I'm not Peyton Manning, but if he wants to tell a story about me, I mean, yeah, anything's possible. I mean, he's going to get to know me even more if he goes out to a Jets and Giants game, because if the Jets beat the Giants, I might do something stupid on the field. So,
oh God! So right after Brandon Jacobs comes out from the stands and
Brandon would probably choke me.
Brandon's going to have to chase after you from the stands.
I'm like, you can't catch me. Oh, Darrell, you got him on one side, and I'll get him on the other.
Yep. The trap defense, containment process.
And then his son, 6'8", 320 pounds.
He's getting the final pancake.
Yeah, I'll be a hamburger before I'm done with that.
Yeah.
Man, that's pretty funny. Anyways. Oh, what a great show. Thank you to all the fans. Keep listening to us. We'll be back tomorrow at 9 p.m. as always. We appreciate you all. Good night.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.